Yeah, I too I romanticize the 50s a lot. If it wasn't for all of like the sexism and racism, I think I'd really like that time. I do. In movies, I'm like, oh, the style, it's so wonderful. Isn't it great? And a lot of people are like, no, are you kidding me? Like, you have no rights.
Well, you would have rights.
It's so
cute. Actually, you're a woman. You wouldn't have that many rights.
Not
Actually,
many.
no.
I would have a checking
I think
account.
I would have a great time if I just ignored everybody around me. Where we're going, we don't need roads.
What? Oh.
Rach didn't even know what that was from. She looked at me like she was clueless. She's like, what are you doing?
What is that? No, I know.
What is that?
That's from Back to the Future.
Which was our movie this week.
Yay! But you were doing it in a weird voice.
Where we're going, we don't need roads.
That's a great tagline.
Yeah?
But I bet
it's not the tagline. Absolutely not. That's not the tag. No, but that was Ronald Reagan's 1986 campaign slogan.
Where we're going, we don't need roads?
Yep.
No, it wasn't.
It was.
What?
Probably so he didn't have to pass an infrastructure bill. That's a true story.
No, really?
Yeah, that's a true story. Where we're going, we don't need roads.
How did he get the rights to do that just because he's like an old Hollywood actor? So
probably.
And he lent his likeness to this. So
yeah,
he gets to do that.
There was a Ronald Reagan movie playing in the 50s, so like he's probably like, yeah, you owe me one.
And he's president at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh! No wonder people were so blinded by him.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Summer's Off, our final episode of season 6.
The last one, and on a bittersweet note, the last one in our house here in Minnesota.
The last one in this
closet.
studio closet. This is our second studio closet. Our studio closet we've had since season 2 through 6 now. And so we've done like, I don't know, 60 episodes in here.
Yeah.
I think it was just our first 10 that were in the old house. Like,
oh, man.
It's crazy. We have a lot of memes in here.
We spent a lot of time trapped in the closet.
This is a nice warm space. We do a lot of making out right before.
Dude, I totally set you up for an R. Kelly joke, and you just missed it.
Oh, you said trapped in the closet. You totally did. Rach, what?
Go back to my joke and laugh at it, please.
Okay, I'll laugh at it now.
Okay.
Rach, can you do an impression of Trapped in the Closet?
No,
I actually don't know the song.
I don't know the lyrics at all.
I only know...
I'm trapped in the closet.
I only know one song. Now, usually I don't do this, but let me go ahead and break you off a little preview of the remix. I ain't trying to be rude. Rach, if you could ask the listeners for one, let's say early Christmas present, because we won't see them. Maybe for Halloween we'll see them, and we'll probably see them for Christmas. So if we could ask the listeners for one gift, what would be the gift that you would ask them for?
I know what I'm probably supposed to say, which is to like or subscribe. Do we subscribe?
Well, they better subscribe.
Can you subscribe?
Yeah, absolutely. You can subscribe to the podcast on
Apple
and then
it comes to
Podcasts.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's not a YouTube channel. But,
yeah. I would ask that they just take a second, and Apple makes it a little difficult to rate and review. But if you can do that, that'd be amazing. But the one that's really easy that I'm going to ask for Christmas, an early Christmas present from the listeners, Christmas in August. Can you go on to Spotify and just look us up? Summer's Off. We'll be in your podcast. We'll be the first thing that pops up. And then just rate the podcast. It takes 2 seconds. And if you could do that, God, I love you forever. We are showing ratings now, so we've gotten enough where like it automatically shows. But that's not that impressive. I think it takes 10. So if we could get a lot more
shout
than
out
that,
to you 10.
You 10.
Appreciate you guys.
You guys are beautiful people. But yeah, we need to up that amount for sure. And it's easy. It's easy. It's so easy.
And you want that on Spotify?
I want that on Spotify.
Okay.
And then while you're doing it, just see if you could do it on Apple if you haven't done it yet. Apple does make it a little tricky though.
Maybe I should rate it. Would that help?
Yeah, that would help. Are you kidding me
How
right
can we
now?
rate our own thing? It feels very
It's not-
unethical.
I know, it is. But you know what? Presidents vote for themselves. You know why? Because they're confident what they're going to do. And because they don't want somebody else to get it.
Just like the Barbie movie. I'm confident. Thank you.
Yeah.
I did work hard. I do deserve this.
Absolutely. That's exactly how you should think about this podcast. Yeah, I am awesome. Thank you. I'm the greatest. Rach.
Yes.
For our final movie of Summers Off for season 6, what movie did we do?
Back to the Future.
Oh, did we now? Okay. And
Arnold Schwarzenegger is not in this film.
No.
Do not be surprised if
But
you don't see him in it.
did read for Marty McFly and Doc Brown.
What would you say?
Arnold Schwarzenegger. He read for Marty McFly
What?
and Doc Brown.
You took me so aback. I had to clarify what you
Yeah.
had said.
Well, that makes sense because it's not true. But if you were going to spread truths to our listeners and you were going to explain to them what this movie is about, Rach, how would you explain Back to the Future?
Okay. Whew. That was good. You got me. You
Well,
got
that's
me so good.
that's because you has read for so many crazy things.
I
You read for
mean-
Edmund and Count of Monte Cristo.
Really?
Yeah, remember? You already forgot that. That was episode 3 or episode 4. Yeah.
Yes, I did remember that now. God, so long ago.
Yeah, I know. He shows himself in very funny ways. I think you read
Okay.
for King Koopa and Mario Bros. That one makes sense to me, though.
All right, Back to the Future. We are present day, 1985. Feeling fly, feeling McFly.
Yeah.
Marty McFly. That's where we meet our main character, Michael J. Fox.
Mhm.
He's living his best as he can life, which is not too bad. His parents are a little wonky. I think his family, he has mixed feelings about them, but for the most part, he's probably doing okay for himself.
Yeah.
He is besties with a science professor, a loony science professor, who makes experiments.
So get this. He was supposed to be the professor,
What?
and then the producers hated it. And they're like, hey, he's not the professor. And they're like, what about a doctor? And they're like, ooh, go on. He's like, what if his name is Doc Brown? And they were like, yeah, we love it. But continue on. Best friends with the professor.
With Professor Doc Brown. And end up making a little time machine. And as the saying goes, you go back, maybe make out with your mom, and then decide, you know what, probably shouldn't have done that. Let's try to fix this. And the journey is to get back to present day to see what kind of shenanigans you created.
Yeah, really a tale as old as time.
Tale as old as time.
And trust me, we're going to get into making out with your pops or your mama. So I have no idea when I first watched this movie.
No?
Like, I couldn't even place it for you. It was probably high school, maybe late middle school. My buddy Mike loves this movie. Like, he would watch them. That and the Home Alone movies were just on repeat all the time for him. But for me, it wasn't I didn't have a strong connection to it. We did watch the third one in chemistry class in high school.
Oh, did you now?
Yep. Not because it has chemistry.
Oh.
Because the third one does not take place anywhere scientific. Do you know anything about the third one?
No.
It's in the Wild West. So we just decided to watch this Wild West movie in chemistry to kill some time. I think our teacher, he just wanted to not have to teach the whole time.
Yep.
And so he would just throw on a movie for the last 15 minutes of class. Sometimes it'd be half the class.
Gotcha.
He'd be like, oh, we did block scheduling, by the way, so it was an hour and a half class. He'd be like, oh, yep, we have a half hour left of Back to the Future. Let's just throw that on and watch that the rest of the class.
Wow. So you would watch the whole movie, but just in 15 minutes or half an
snippets.
hour snippets?
Yep, and he'd be like, what part are we at? Were we at the part where he jumps off the train? Or you try to find it and be like, oh, no, we already watched all this. And he'd be like, oh, well, let's just watch it again.
Oh, wow, Mr. Hanson, you're so cool.
It's funny because everybody really loved his chemistry class.
I'm sure they did.
And I felt like I didn't learn a thing.
Yep.
I probably did, but I don't feel like I did.
You learned what happens in Back to the Future
Yeah,
3.
I watched the third one. I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. I haven't seen this one a whole lot. So let's talk a little pre-production.
Okay.
So the screenwriter for this movie, his name is Bob Gale. He actually writes comics.
Okay.
He got into writing, I think he wrote Superman for a while. But yeah, he's a comic book writer. And he came up with this idea. He had a bunch of movie flops. And he was home for, I think, a summer vacation after college. And he's like, okay, what he's looking through his bookshelf. He sees an old yearbook. He pulls it off the shelf and looks at his dad in his old yearbook. And he goes, okay, here's my dad back when he was in high school. He looks kind of weird. Would I have been friends with him? Or would I have thought he was a loser? Like, what would I have thought of my dad in high school?
Sure.
And so that kind of like brought up the whole conceit of would I be friends with my pops?
Yeah.
And why he wrote this. He's film school. He went to film school. It was one of the Los Angeles schools. I can't remember if it was UCLA or USC. And he went with Bob Zemeckis. And Bob Zemeckis is a pretty famous director.
Oh, is he?
Yep. He directed Who Framed Roger Rabbit right after this.
Heard of it.
He did that Witches movie with Anne Hathaway that just came out like a little bit ago. And that live action Pinocchio that you just mentioned to me. You're like, hey, did you know there's a live action Pinocchio like in 2018? That was him.
Okay.
But then he also directed a really famous movie that won an Oscar in the mid-90s.
You got to give me more than that.
One of the best movies of all time.
In the mid-90s?
Mid-90s.
The Lion
94.
King.
Nope, it was
that
live
came
action.
Out that year.
Okay, yep. Yeah, that's probably true, yep.
A live action around that time?
Uh-huh.
Angels in the Outfield.
No. What an Oscar. Also using Christopher Lloyd.
The best movies of all time.
No, Tom Hanks.
Have I seen it?
Yes. You love this movie.
Forrest Gump.
He directed Forrest Gump.
Wow.
Yep, so he's done a lot of stuff. And Zemeckis was the one who came up with the idea. So they're the Bobs, Bob Gale and Bob Zemeckis. So when I mentioned the Bobs from here on out, that's who I'm talking about. The screenwriter and the director who like also kind of like helped produce it and everything too. Zemeckis came up with the idea, okay, so Bob Gale, you are curious about what it would be like if you met your dad for the first time. I'm curious about what if you had to get your mom and dad together, otherwise you no longer existed. And so he came up with that whole point of the plot. He's like, let's go deeper into this. Mom and dad are both back in high school. And so they came up with the script, and it got rejected 40 times.
Oh.
From different studios.
Are there 40 studios?
Well, that's the thing. I think they went to certain studios multiple times to pitch it again and be like, hey, okay, we made some adjustments. What do you think of this
now? What do you think?
And the studios thought it was too clean. This was in the era of like Revenge of the Nerds, Porky's, like these like sexy teen comedies.
Sure.
That they were like, let's dirty this up.
Yeah.
Like if we're going to do this, like make it dirty. It's too clean.
Got it.
And they're like, you need to take this to Disney. Like this is just, we're not in the mood for like these like clean-y teen comedies.
Yeah, nothing PG here.
Yeah, nothing PG. We want Fast Times at Ridgemont High. And so then they take it to Disney, and Disney's like, this is way too crass for us. And so it just doesn't fit anybody. And Disney was hung up. They were like, okay, what if we get rid of some of the language? What if we make some adjustments? And Disney was like, there's one thing that I don't think you're going to be willing to change that you would have to change for us to produce it. What would that be, Rach?
Making out with your mom.
Making out with old mama. They just did not like it. They were like, we can't get over the incest.
Well, with Marty's parents out of town, don't you think you ought to spend the night? I mean, after all, Dad almost killed him with the car.
That's true, Marty. I think maybe you should spend the night. I think you're our responsibility.
Well, gee, I don't know.
And he can sleep in my room.
The incest is unforgivable
Disney
to us.
draws a line at incest.
Yep.
I will not, under any circumstances, have that in a film.
Yep.
Understood,
That's why they
Disney.
never produced Oedipus. Like they just would not get onto like a film adaptation of Oedipus.
Yeah.
It just they
Way
couldn't
to go,
do it.
Disney. Way to have some boundaries.
Yeah, for sure. But Zemeckis, so he's starting to pick up steam because he does this movie. There was like flop with these guys, with the Bobs. But then Zemeckis comes out with this movie called Romancing the Stone. We've talked about this movie before. It came out like in like 84-ish, and it's like Indiana Jones, and it's Michael Douglas in it.
Okay.
It becomes this big hit that's like a huge surprise. Like people thought it was going to be terrible, and they're like, oh, the Zemeckis guy sucks. Just throw him that Romancing the Stone movie that's going to be awful. And then it ends up popping, and it's a huge hit. And so they also were friends with Spielberg. So they get like this perfect storm of Romancing the Stone hits, and then Spielberg's one of their buddies, and they're like, Spielberg, what do we do? And so Spielberg's like, hey, I'm going to help you get this off the ground. I think this plot sounds really cool. I like this idea, and I like you guys. Let's make this happen.
Who has Spielberg in their back pocket as a buddy? Like that's not even a Cinderella story.
I
That's
know,
like
it's not a Cinderella story at all.
You're born after a home run.
Yeah.
You're not even born on third base. You already had a home run. You're one up.
Yeah.
And then
You could like draw the home run card at any point and be like, hey, by the way, I just want to. It's a home run for me now. I'm going to win the game for us in the championship.
Spielberg, make my movie.
Yep. So Spielberg is like, okay, I got an idea, and he has connections at Universal, who he's been working with, and then he gets them in with Universal. But they have to buy the movie back from Columbia. They had sold the rights to it, but it was just going to sit there because they weren't going to produce it because they didn't like it, and so they had to like go back and get the rights. So let's talk about casting. This is where things get a little interesting. Rach, who's our Marty McFly?
Marty McFly is the incomparable Michael J. Foxy McFoxen.
Yes, and MJ is the number one choice by both the Bobs.
Clearly.
They want MJ big time. He's killing it in Family Ties. That runs from 82 to 89.
Yep.
And to kind of give you like where we're at in Michael J's like filmography, he's done a couple like small things movies wise, but like he's just about to hit his cinematic career.
Oh,
Otherwise,
okay.
everything's been TV mostly.
So no Teen Wolf yet?
Teen Wolf literally comes out a month and a half after this movie.
Whoa.
He films it right after this.
Gotcha.
So we are in Teen Wolf era.
What a time to be alive.
Yeah, the same summer. They come out the same summer. This is like Julia Roberts back then. So Michael J's the top choice, but he's too busy. And they just think with Family Ties, they're like unwilling to work with him. Family Ties is doing their season at the same exact time that this is supposed to film, and it's just not going to work. And so they actually don't have Michael J to start with. So instead, they bring in a bunch of other folks. They bring in 2 people from the Outsiders movie. Who do you think they brought in? And you can just say character
Matt
names.
Dillon.
No.
Crap, I can't think of his name. Really handsome.
What's
his name?
Rob Lowe?
Rob Lowe.
Nope, not Rob Lowe either.
Damn it.
They bring in the guy who plays Ponyboy,
Who is?
C. Thomas Howell. We don't know that name, but Ponyboy
Okay.
from the movie.
Okay.
And then they bring in Johnny Cakes,
Johnny Cakes.
played by Ralph Macchio, the Karate Kid.
Ah, there we go.
Yeah.
How am I supposed to know who these people are?
The Karate Kid, Rach, the Karate
okay.
Kid.
Okay, yeah. Neither of them had the sex appeal of Michael J. Fox.
Oh,
but-
you think Michael J's sexier than those two?
Oh, I think most people do. Don't you?
Well, I think he's sexier maybe than Johnny Cakes, but I think Ponyboy is pretty attractive. See Thomas Howell?
See what you know. I can't even picture him right now.
But then listen to these other people that they talk about, and you tell me, yay or nay,
Okay.
as far as being better than Michael J. Yay or nay better than Michael J. That's the segment name. John Cusack,
Nay.
Johnny Depp,
Nay.
Charlie Sheen,
Nay.
John Cryer.
I don't know who that is.
That's the other guy from 2.5 Men. Who's in Pretty in Pink as Ducky.
Yay? No. Nay.
And Ben Stiller. who,
Ben Stiller.
Who was
Oh.
brand new. He hadn't done anything. It was just because of his
Oh.
dad was a big name.
Yep.
They're like, oh, that's whatever his name, Stiller's kid. Let's bring him in. And so it was like one of his first readings.
Ben Stiller is such a cutie.
Yeah, you can see like pictures of his first auditions too. It's pretty fun.
Such a baby.
Yeah.
But no. Michael J. is in that infinite space between 15 to 20 on my hottest hotties. Did you know that?
Even though he's so short.
Even in spite of that, because I'm so short, so for me, it's not going to be an issue.
Oh, I didn't even look up his height because we talked about it in Teen Wolf. I don't even remember what it is.
I can find this for
Is
you.
he taller than you?
Probably.
Yeah.
Or we're like right eye to eye.
Yeah, you can
I
look.
bet he's like 5'5".
You can peer into each other's souls. So they actually don't cast any of those people.
That's a lot of guys.
There's a lot of guys. And they say no to all of them. Instead, they cast a guy named Eric Stoltz. You won't know who Eric Stoltz is. They went into production with him. The producers loved, at Universal, they loved Eric Stoltz. Eric Stoltz had just done a movie called, he was in Fast Times at Ridgemont High, but he had just done a movie called The Mask. And in The Mask,
Wait,
you know this movie?
like the regular mask?
No, not that green Jim Carrey mask. That's the 90s.
Somebody stop me!
When you say The Mask and have I seen it, what kind of movie show do you think this is? Like that's our bread and butter is that type of film.
I know,
No,
but
okay,
not that
not that
mask.
mask.
This one is in the 80s.
Okay.
And he's like this kid who has like this weird syndrome that makes his face all like crazy.
Oh.
And so he looks like he's, Hey Arnold?
Yep.
Instead of football head being like left to right, it's up and down.
Jesus.
That's what he looks like. And it's about him like getting friends. I've actually seen parts of this movie.
You have?
Yeah, I saw it like when I was a kid, and I was like, this is weird. And it's like, yeah, it's a heartwarming tale about teenagers and finding people who are different than you and being friends with them because they're lovely and escaping bad situations. And anyway, so he was in this movie that like got him a lot of acclaim. He didn't win an Oscar, or wasn't up for any awards, but people were like, wow, that Eric Stoltz, he's quite the talented kid. Because he's pretty good looking, but you'd never know it from this movie. So the producers went to bat and they were like, you got to go with this Eric Stoltz guy. So the Bobs are like, okay, we want Mikey J, but we'll go with Eric Stoltz. So Eric Stoltz is your Marty McFly.
For how long?
For quite a while.
No.
We're going to talk about it.
Oh, dear.
All right,
I
let's
hate
go
those.
to Docky Brown. Doc Brown was the original people who kind of read for Doc Brown. They brought in and auditioned. Do you have any guesses?
Besides Christopher Lloyd?
Yeah.
Somebody who plays that kind of crazy old man character.
Yeah. One of these will really make sense to you.
Okay.
You don't know Harry and the Hendersons. What about oh gosh.
Is it Harry?
No, no. Third Rock from the Sun.
Oh, John Lithgow?
John Lithgow.
Oh, he would be good.
Yes.
He
So
would be very
he's
good.
one of the people who read, and I think like that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
The other one is a major stretch.
Okay.
Not a bad actor.
Something just different.
And somebody very particular and pretty funny. Think Jurassic Park.
Oh, I can't think of his name.
The Fly.
The Fly.
He's in The Fly as well.
Yeah, what's his name?
Jeff Goldblum.
Yes.
Our buddy Christopherson's one of his favorite actors.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah. Jeff Goldblum as Doc Brown. What would that have been like?
It's a different Doc Brown, for sure. It's a spicy Doc Brown is what it is.
Yeah, he's almost too sexy.
He's almost too sexy. I'm conflicted.
Yeah.
What am I supposed to do with all that hotness in one film?
Who's hotter between Jeff Goldblum and Michael J. Fox in their primes?
In their primes?
Yeah.
Their respective primes?
Their respective primes, which is probably honestly this moment.
Yeah.
In 85.
They probably are equally as hot. I still got to get it to Michael J., but
Yeah.
Jeff Goldblum is very spicy.
Have you
especially
seen-
in Jurassic Park?
Have you seen Jeff Goldblum recently?
Kind of on like some commercials, I feel like.
I saw him with his shirt off recently.
Okay.
He's ripped.
Yeah?
Yeah, he's in incredible shape for his age.
Amazing.
I was like, this is craziness.
Good for you, Jeff.
Are you like on roids right now? I feel like you're like in your 60s and you look like really, really good.
Fountain of Youth,
Yeah,
something.
he found it. So they sent it to Christopher Lloyd because that's who they wanted. That was also their number one choice. They brought in the other two to read, but they sent the script to Christopher Lloyd. He looked at it and said this. He kind of thumbed through it. He's like, this movie looks like trash. He threw it in the trash.
Oh, wow.
And his wife went and she picked it out of the trash and she's like, I think you need to think about giving this more of a chance. He was really into theater. So his big breakout role was a past Summers Off movie, your Summers Off movie, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Oh, that's right.
That was like
I forget
that
he's
was
in
like his
there.
first big
Yeah,
film.
well, that's huge.
And then he does a couple films, but then he's kind of out of the film industry by this point, and he's really, really into theater. And so he's just like, I don't want to do this trashy movie. Like I'm a theater guy.
Yeah,
I'm
very
in
serious. He's a very serious actor.
I'm in the theater right now. And his wife is like, I think you need to think about it and give it a shot.
Yeah.
So he reread it, and he like actually took time to like read it through thoroughly.
Rach, go!
And he was like, oh, this is awesome. I think I'm really going to like this.
Good.
Yep. So he totally flipped the script. And he's like, I want to do this. Totally gets him back into film as well.
Yeah, and it's going to pay the bills.
Yeah,
very
it's gonna pay the
exciting.
bills.
Very exciting.
And so after this movie with Zemeckis, he does Who Framed Roger Rabbit. And he plays like the judge
The villain in
character.
that, yep.
And then he does Clue the same year that this comes out.
Oh,
Which have you
okay.
ever seen Clue?
I've not.
Okay.
I've not seen it.
I remember it being pretty fun, but it's been a long time, and I don't trust that memory. I would maybe have to vet that movie before doing it.
Where's your sense of adventure?
Yeah, I suppose. Let's talk Marty's papa.
Oh, yeah. He
Who?
looks very familiar.
Yeah. His name is Crispin Glover.
Crispin Glover.
Yep. He is in a couple movies in the 90s that you know.
Yep.
I'm going to give you one of them.
Charlie's Angels.
Oh, you didn't need me for the other one. Okay.
Yeah,
Charlie's Angels.
He's the guy he's got a very interesting
He's
look.
got a sword in it.
Oh, is he in Kill Bill?
No.
Oh.
In Charlie's Angels, he like carries a sword around and wears a suit.
Oh, he does.
Yeah, it's like the
That's right.
main henchman.
Yep. He also is in that weird movie. He's like a Pied Piper.
Yes.
Type of a
Okay, you know the
character.
other movie too.
I don't know what it's called, but
Willard.
Willard.
Yep.
Is that what that's called?
Yep. He controls the rats.
Yeah.
Never seen it. I thought it looked really
I
weird.
couldn't tell if he was too young for that because he looks so young in this, and I thought, well, that's what maybe that actually wasn't that much after that. Probably just like 10 years. He looks good.
Yeah, Charlie's Angels is probably late 90s. I feel like it was in
I
like
think
our
it's
TRL
I think it's
stage.
early 2000s.
Maybe, yeah.
2000,
Yep.
like 1 to 4
Yeah.
to 3, maybe.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you said that he might have been too young. He was only 21 when he filmed this.
Okay.
He's very young.
Wow.
What do you think of his old stuff, knowing he's only 21 years old?
I mean, I thought he was really good.
Mhm.
I thought he's so naturally quirky and awkward
Yeah.
that he almost reads like a little spectrum-y to
100%.
me a little bit.
Yep.
And it completely works. I thought he was like a brilliant cast. Like whoever this guy is, I don't think he's acting. He's that good at kind of playing that like that nerdy character. But then in the older stuff too, I thought he was good.
Yeah, I think he ages.
I think the makeup's really good in this.
I think his age work is really, really good. And so he's 3 years younger than Michael J. Fox.
Yeah.
Michael J. is 24 when this comes out, and he's only 21. He's also, you kind of mentioned this, he's also a weirdo in real life.
Yes, I'm George McFly. I'm your density.
Like,
Oh.
he is very strange.
Oh, is he?
The people on set were kind of freaked out by him. And so he does like a lot of different stuff. I never looked up how old Leah Thompson is during this, but he asked Leah Thompson to come over and paint a volcano with him.
Oh.
And so she does. She's like, oh, this is interesting.
That's
Like,
nice,
my
Leah
love
Thompson.
interest, I'm going to come over. We're going to paint, apparently. And so they paint this volcano. And she says, like, they don't talk, like, the whole time. They're just painting. And every time she tries to talk to him, like, he doesn't really want to talk. He just wants to keep working on this volcano.
Okay.
They finish the volcano, and he's like, good. And then he just, like, leaves. And she's like, so that was it? Like, we literally just painted a volcano together, and we're not even going to talk or, like, connect or anything? Like, that was it?
Oh wow.
So he's
Wow.
an odd
Little
duck.
ball, isn't he?
The directors had a major problem with him.
Yeah.
He would just, like, leave a shot. He just, like, exit out of a shot. And one of them is in the diner when he's going to go ask Leah Thompson out on a date. And he first goes into the diner section. And instead, he would just be like, my character wouldn't stay here. Like, when Biff comes in and stuff and Michael J and him look like they're going to fight, he just wanted to, like, leave. He's like, I would just leave. And so he kept leaving, and he kept leaving the shots when they'd have a shot set up, and they'd be like, you can't leave. And he'd be like, my character would leave. And so he kept arguing with the directors, and the directors were like, well, I'm the director, and I wrote your character, and I'm telling you, your character cannot leave. He
Yeah.
will not leave. And he's like, I'm in control of the character. He's going to leave.
Oh wow.
So what they had to do,
Wow.
there was an outdoor scene where Marty's he's like hanging clothes, and Marty's like talking about like, hey, you got to ask her out, you got to do this, here's what our thing would be, and they're going through the plan. And there was a moment where he was just like, I don't want to stay here, this like conversation makes my character very uncomfortable, I need to get out of here. And they're like, you can't leave. And he's like, well, if there's nothing stopping me, I won't stay. And so what they did, they built a fence around him
What?
that he had to step into. And so he physically couldn't leave because he kept trying to wander off set and off the shot. And so they made this little square. He had to operate inside this square, and then they just would film waist up. So he could not leave.
Oh my gosh, that's wild. And I would say like, why would you do that for like some 20-something who
21-year-old. That you could just recast him.
you could just recast, but at the same time, he's also
He's
so
really good.
for this role. So I think make the fence if he's just so rule bound and so anxious and so in the character that he can't not separate. Like, I have to hit my marks versus like I'm in this character. Like that's a bit worrisome, don't
Yeah.
you think?
Oh,
to like
yeah.
get that involved in a character. Like I worry about him in the other ones with like the movie with the rats. Who knows what
Who knows
those
what
behind
he
the
was doing?
scenes are.
He was probably really playing with rats like all the time.
Oh, I'm convinced.
Yeah, for sure. Yep. So he is an odd duck.
God. it.
And so you can kind of tell. So Michael J's on the way to exploding. Leah Thompson continues on and has a very successful film career. And he kind of disappears after this and then resurfaces in the 90s because he's just so weird. Yeah, I know. I suppose it's like, okay, we're going to give you another chance. Oh, yep, you're still weird. Weird enough to play Willard.
I know just the role for you.
Rach, who plays our mama?
Oh, you just said her name.
Leah
Thompson.
Leah Thompson.
Thank you for the lead-in.
Where are my pants?
Over there. On my hope chest.
So, Leah Thompson, do you know anything about Leah Thompson?
There was a TV show that she was on, Mad About You. Is that the one with her
no,
and
I don't believe so.
the other guy? The other guy that was in that?
No, I don't think so.
No. Okay.
Is it Mad About You with Helen Hunt?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
it is. Not Mad About You. Is it Kathy? What is the show called?
I don't know.
She's in some
I didn't write
sitcom.
down.
She's in a sitcom that I saw one time.
Very cool.
Maybe her character's name was Kathy. I don't remember.
Gotcha.
Clearly, because I'm mixing her and Helen Hunt up.
Well, you could look it up if you want.
Why
Yeah,
I
it
would
does make
mix up
sense.
those two.
So, Leah Thompson is a Minnesota girl. She was born and raised in Rochester, Minnesota.
Awesome.
NPR, Rochester. So being a Minnesota girl, she didn't start her career here though. She was actually a dancer and really into the dance world.
Really?
Like a ballet dancer. She would go to California and work with the San Francisco Ballet Company, and then she worked at the American Conservatory or American Ballet Studio in New York City. And it was there when she turned 20. She was about to it's time to bump her to the big leagues. And the person in charge said no. And why do you think he said no?
Because she's too short.
Not only he said she's too short. He said she's too stocky.
She's too stocky. Yeah, I was going to say, because she's an average weight.
Yep, because she's a normal-looking girl. She's too stocky for us.
Oh, that's hard.
Yep. Ballet.
Ballet.
So she leaves the dance industry and goes into the acting industry and finds success pretty quickly. She was in Jaws 3D.
Oh, okay.
Yep. She didn't even know
Great.
how to swim, and she took a role that's in a SeaWorld scene where she has to do a bunch of skiing tricks and stuff like that.
Okay.
And so she had a week where she had to teach herself how to swim and teach herself how to ski and do tricks.
Amazing.
Yeah.
All while being chased by a giant 3D shark.
Yep, for sure.
Incredible.
Really, really impressive stuff. So we should have known she was going to be a big star at that point. And then she does All the Right Moves with Tom Cruise. It's like a football movie in '83, but one of her first big movies with Tom Cruise.
Yeah, playing
Opposite
opposite
her.
Tommy. Hey.
Yep. I think she was supposed to do a topless scene, and Tom Cruise goes, "Don't do it. It'll ruin your career." And so he
Aw, you big sweetie.
told her not to do it, and then she's like, "Oh, it's the best decision of my life." Then she does Red Dawn in '84. Do you know what Red Dawn's about?
I've heard of it. Is it about Russia?
Yep. Russia invades.
Oh, no.
Yep. And I think it's
That's bad.
I think the kids are in Colorado or somewhere, but they're a bunch of teenagers leading a resistance. Do you know who their leader is?
Michael J. Fox?
Nope. Somebody taller and a better dancer. Likes to wear tight black shirts and dance around.
Christopher Swayze.
No, Christopher Swayze. Patrick Swayze.
Patrick Swayze.
Yes,
I
you
was thinking
knew.
of Christopher Lloyd. I was going to make a joke about him, and then I got stuck, and I was like, no, it's Pat Swayze.
Pat Swayze.
Christopher Swayze, a great combo.
Leading the resistance. And then right after this movie, she does a future Summers Off flick for us. It's a bonkers movie. Howard the Duck.
Oh, future. We haven't done it yet.
We have not done it yet.
Roger that.
Get ready.
Can't wait.
Yep,
for
it
that
is a handful. The guy who played Biff,
What are you looking at, butthead?
one. Yeah, Biff.
Don Wilson.
Okay.
He is not an actor, really. He is a comedian.
Oh, okay.
Yep, he has done a bunch of stuff for Tonight Show. I think he was on the Tonight Show back when what's the first guy's name before Leno takes it over?
Johnny Carson?
Johnny Carson. Yep. I was gonna say Jimmy Carter, and I was like, that is not right.
It's not that, but you could say it anyways. We wouldn't laugh at your face.
Yeah, just to your radios, you little jerks. And then after this, he's on Freaks and Geeks, and he does a bunch of voice work on SpongeBob. But there were a couple other people up for Biff. Tim Robbins was up for Biff.
Okay.
Shawshank Redemption.
Yep.
And then another person was up for Biff who made it into this movie as one of Biff's goons. Did you recognize anybody?
Didn't recognize any of the three guys. The guy who had the glasses on was hard to see.
Yeah, it wasn't him.
He was wearing 3D glasses the whole time,
Yep.
which is a fun character
Back in the
choice.
50s, he's wearing like these color red and blue 3D glasses.
I think you're only supposed to wear those in the movie.
Yeah, I think so too.
So it just made the henchman very funny.
Yep.
Yeah.
There was one that was especially good looking.
Yes. Okay. Who was he?
Okay.
Who was that good-looking guy?
That good-looking
He kinda looked
guy.
like Tony from West Side Story.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Is that who he was?
No, he was not Tony.
Oh, okay. I was like, it doesn't make sense.
No.
He's too old. I couldn't
No,
pick pieces.
this person is in one of your favorite films.
Okay.
The Summer's Off conclusion episode last season,
I'll never
which
remember
was
that.
Titanic.
Oh, Billy Zane.
Billy Zane.
Oh,
That was Billy
really?
Zane.
A baby Billy Zane.
Baby Billy.
Baby Billy.
Auditioned for Biff.
Mhm.
Didn't get it. They said, hey, we'll throw you with a henchman.
Don't worry, Billy. Your day's coming. We don't even know who that Biff is, anyways.
And then Marty's girlfriend. Marty's girlfriend has traded parts many times. Like, this is kind of crazy.
I bet that's a who's who. Anybody under 5'4", because I looked it up. That is how tall our boy is.
So,
We would be eye to eye.
yep. So, what you need to know about those listings is usually kind of like athletes. They'll be like, so-and-so's 6'3", and really they're 6 foot tall.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
if I was going out for football, it would be listed as 6'3".
Yeah.
And, and you'd be like, he's not 6'3".
Oh, what? Whenever.
But that's also probably what Michael J does. So he's probably actually 5'2". He's probably a little shorter than you. So they went with this gal to start with. Her name is Melora Hardin. This is when it's Eric Stoltz as Marty McFly.
Okay.
And Eric is a lot taller.
Yeah.
And so they have this first girl, Melora Hardin. You don't know that name, do you? But you know who she is
Okay.
because she's in The Office.
She's in the office?
Yep.
Meredith?
Nope, not Meredith. She plays somebody tall and pretty attractive and older now.
Jan.
She's Jan.
She's Jan.
Yep, this is a big breakout moment for Jan.
Whoa.
And then she gets recast because they end up going with Michael J later on. And so
she's too tall.
She's too tall. And they hadn't filmed any of her scenes yet.
Yep.
And so she never even really got to experience it.
Bye-bye, Jan.
Bye-bye, Jan. Jan is gone.
That'll teach you to be an average height.
They replace her with this gal named Claudia Wells, who had done some TV work but no films yet. And she doesn't do movies for a long time after this because she leaves when her mom has breast cancer. She leaves the industry altogether, and she never really comes back.
Oh.
It's just kind of like a pretty traumatic thing.
Sure.
And she kind of just stays home with her mom for a few years and stuff. But then for the second and third Back to the Future movies, because what we know from the end, what happens?
She gets in the car with them, and they're going back to the past. I don't know if they say Back to the Future. That's like what the goal is at the end of the film, but it's like Back to the Past essentially to start.
Yeah.
Wait, no, they're gonna
No,
go
they're
back
gonna
to
go
the
to the future.
in the new one.
Well, we're going, we don't need roads.
That's right. That's right. We're
So-
going to the future.
They recast her as Elizabeth Shue.
Okay.
And-
Yes. Okay, that makes sense because I feel like I've seen random clips from, I don't know if it's been all three. I mean, thank God you bought the trilogy on
Yeah.
Blu-ray, so now I can really
Absolutely.
I was ready to go like, hey, what's next?
Yeah.
Put it in.
Let's go
see.
for number 2.
Let's find out what
Yeah.
these crazy kids get up to.
So number 2's all in the future, pretty much.
Very cool. Like how far in the future?
30 years, 2015.
Oh, fun.
Yep. Just like it's fun to think about.
Did
Like
they get it right?
they have hoverboards.
Oh.
Have you ever heard the hoverboard thing?
I mean, we have things that we call hoverboards that are not said hoverboards, but you'll break your elbow just the same.
Absolutely. Yeah, they play like a weird form of baseball in that one too. There's a lot of weird stuff. The outfits are insane. They look like, you remember in Double Dragon, all those weird gangs? You had like you had Mailman Gang
Mailman
and
Gang,
Clown
the Mime
Gang. Yeah,
Gang,
Mime
yep.
Gang. That's what it looks like in the future. It's
Gangs.
really crazy. Not as much gangs, but like weird outfits.
I just love it when movies predict the future and they never go far enough, but it's always like
Yeah.
30 years. We're pretty positive that this will happen by then. And now I feel like movies, when they go into the future, it's very bleak and it's almost like we go backwards in time.
Yeah,
You think
yep.
like A Handmaid's Tale. It's like, a return to simplicity.
Yeah.
Or,
Well, it's-
it's just like rules take over and then it's just a barren wasteland if you
Uh-huh.
leave the area.
I feel like everybody assumes we're going towards this really horrible authoritarian government. it?
Yeah.
Like that's kind of the consensus
Yeah,
now.
and the
Now
rest
we're
of
gonna have
the-
fun outfits.
No fun outfits.
And cool hoverboards.
Nope.
That's not the guess now.
Nope. The land is toxic waste, except for the one area that we live. Maybe we live in the sky. Maybe we can't even be on Earth.
Or on water.
Or on New Earth.
Yep.
Or water. Yep. So it's very interesting how that has changed a little bit.
Absolutely. What? You hear two musicians' songs quite a bit in this movie.
Yes, you do. Let
Yeah.
me tell you about them. Huey Lewis and the News
Yeah.
boys, killing it.
Uh-huh.
Just like
So
they
fun.
wrote music for this, which is amazing.
Yep. And one thing I'll say is hearing what's The Power of Love, and compared to last episode hearing We Are Family and The Birdcage over and over again, it is just night and day for me. Like I could listen to Power of Love all day long. Like Huey Lewis and the News, those guys are so fun.
Mm-hmm.
I love them.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I could leave and never hear We Are Family ever again. And then who's our other person, Rach? Do you remember?
What's the song?
Earth Angel,
Oh.
Earth Angel.
Yeah, who sings that?
Hey, blank, blank. It's your cousin. I'm just going to make up a name. Vinnie Barry. I got that sound that you're looking for.
Berry.
No, it's Marvin Barry.
Marvin Berry?
Yep.
Marvin Berry is the guy who calls his uncle Chuck Berry, right? Because Chuck Berry sings the song that he sings at the show at the end.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe
Does he
I've got it
sing-
all
He
wrong.
doesn't sing Earth Angel, does he?
They sing Earth Angel at the dance.
I know they do, but it's a cover of somebody else's song.
Yeah, because he's the Barry. He's the cousin.
Oh, so
To the Berry
so
boy.
it's Chuck Berry saying Earth Angel?
I have written down Marvin Barry.
I don't know who Marvin Berry is.
Okay.
I'll believe
Hey,
you.
look, can you look it up?
Yeah,
Look it up
for
for the
sure.
listeners.
For sure.
So, and I'll tell you a little piece of spicy trivia while you're looking that up.
Yeah.
Huey Lewis is in this movie.
What? Now I'm distracted. Tell me more.
Okay. So there's a moment in this movie where it has to do with music, and it's in the 80s. Is there any? Or did you already find it? Chuck Berry is definitely the name, by the way. I'm thinking of that line in Jersey Boys where he goes, Chuck Berry and the Everly Brothers or whatever.
Well, I'll
Everly
just have
Brothers?
you know that Marvin Berry is a fictional character. Marvin Berry and the Starlighters is a fictional band, but he's Chuck Berry's cousin,
Yes.
who is a real person.
Okay, yeah.
Now,
it's Chuck
who
Berry.
plays Earth Angel? I don't know who sings Earth
I
Angel.
think it's Chuck Berry.
I don't think so, but I'll do it.
Earth Angel, Earth Angel.
Oh,
The one I adore.
okay, this is weird
What?
because it says that's a song by Harry Waters Jr., Marvin Berry, and the Starlighters. What? But it told me it was a fictional one in the last Google search. Google,
Exactly.
get your story together.
Exactly.
No wonder you were so confused.
I was.
I'm
I
confused.
literally typed in who sings Earth Angel, and it
Yeah.
was like Marvin Barry. I was like, oh, cool.
Okay.
Yeah, he does.
How did they get Marvin Berry to play at their prom? That's incredible. He would have been so huge.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any
He started,
sense.
well, that's because he's Chuck Berry's cousin.
Yeah, but how did the school afford it?
I know.
That's what I
You
wanna
can only
know.
afford the cousin.
But he's Earth Angel.
So in the band scene in the
Yes.
80s,
Yeah, back to
when they're playing at the Battle of the Bands, they're trying to get into the band concert or whatever, and
Yeah.
there's somebody who says, "You're too loud."
Is that him?
That's Huey
That's
Lewis.
our guy.
That's our guy.
Oh, I love that.
Yep.
Don't take money. Don't take her.
Soundtrack super fun. Like from the 50s side, Sandman and like and
Yeah,
Earth Angel and
yeah.
all that stuff, and then going to the 80s with a bunch of Huey Lewis songs. I was just in heaven. I loved all the music. I didn't realize I loved those two periods so much.
Yeah, I too I romanticize the 50s a lot. If it wasn't for all of like the sexism and racism, I think I'd really like that time. I do. In movies, I'm like, oh, the style, it's so wonderful. Isn't it great? And
Yeah.
a lot of people are like, no, are you kidding me? Like, you have no rights.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
terrible. But
well, you would have rights.
it's so
well,
cute.
actually, you're a woman. You wouldn't have that many
No,
rights.
not
Actually,
many.
no.
I don't even
would
think I could have a
I
checking
think I would
account.
have a great time if I just ignored everybody around me.
yeah, for sure.
Like it would really be a great time.
Just
for
lean
me.
into the patriarchy and you'll have a great time.
Yeah, I think I'll have a
You'll be like
really
Ken.
fun time.
Again, Barbie, so fun.
It's called patriarchy. We're gonna bring it back. So let's talk about some film stuff.
Okay.
They have 65 days to put this movie together
Oh my God.
because this is supposed to come out in late July.
Uh huh.
the studio starts watching some of the clips that are coming together and everything, and they're just like, we think this is going to be kind of a hit. I think we need a July 4th release. And so they actually take away like 3 weeks' time. So they're even less than they thought they were going to be.
Less time to make a bigger hit?
Yeah. And so this movie is huge production-wise.
Yeah.
Like, this would be crazy to make in 60 days.
Yeah. Even if you already filmed half of it with the wrong person.
Well, and we're going to get to that. That's where things get really nutty. So they've got 65 days to shoot completely. And then right off the bat, they do the table read. And Eric Stoltz is at the table with Leah Thompson and Crispin Glover and everything. They're kind of a weird trio. Like, we obviously talked about the Crispin stuff. But Stoltz is a weird guy, too.
Oh, man.
He's very, I shouldn't say weird. That's maybe not fair. Yeah. He's very serious. He is a serious actor.
Okay.
He's the kind of guy who wears all black. He's like a poet, you know, like I don't know that he wears scarves, but I imagine he wears scarves. But I've seen pictures of him and he's in all black a lot.
Okay.
And so they're at this table read and he's having like this existential crisis with the character. He's like, so Marty is trapped back in time. And he's away from himself. And he's trying to rediscover who he is. And it's less about him making his parents get together. And it's more about him discovering like who he even is. Because now he's not in his time. He's a man out of his time. And like all this really serious mumbo jumbo. And the Bobs are like looking at each other like, what's going on right now? We didn't even want this guy. The studio head had said like, hey, if you cast Eric Stoltz, I promise you it's going to work out. And if I believe in it so much, if it doesn't, you can fire him and you can cast somebody else and I'll like front the money for it and everything. Don't worry. Eric Stoltz is that great.
Yeah.
And so they're already getting nervous, but they're like, let's continue forward. It's not enough to like, we got to see where this goes. But they're getting super nervous.
Yeah.
Rach, tell us about the vehicle for time travel.
The DeLorean. Let me tell you about this car. It's from the brand DeLoreans. They only make one car.
Probably Chevy. Because there's a Chevy truck later in the movie, so I imagine it's Chevy all around.
Could be, or it could just be its own thing. It's possible. I don't know who makes those hatch doors. It's incredible.
Yep.
Did you know anybody who ever had one of those doors? Or did your parents know anybody that had the Batwing doors?
No, I think they're so cool.
They're pretty cool.
So I saw our buddy Nick Wayne had a DeLorean when he was in high school, but it didn't have the doors that went up. It had a normal doors.
Boring doors.
Because I bet it's really expensive to get those cool Batwing doors.
Oh, I'm sure. And I'm sure they malfunction all the time.
Oh my gosh, I guarantee it. Yep. Well, I remember in the 90s, there were these doors that you would like pull out, and instead of Batwing doors, it almost be like the door like turned upward.
Yeah.
Like it like went counterclockwise to the 12 o'clock position.
I don't know what that was either, but that was also a thing.
Those are cool.
Doors opening in weird ways was very hot back then.
Yep.
Very cutting edge. Like, what else could we do? Let's open these doors weird.
Let me ask you a question.
Okay.
If you have a Nissan Rogue.
Yes, I do.
Yep. So imagine you could get that Nissan Rogue, or you could get a DeLorean with the same price, same amount of miles. Everything is the same, only you could have the DeLorean. What would you do?
Is the DeLorean like souped up to look like the Back to the Future, or is it just an old DeLorean?
That's a question. Do you want it to be souped up?
I don't know. It's hard because there's no anonymity when you're driving around. Everybody knows, like, oh, there's Rachel and her DeLorean. I mean, they probably would say that regardless. Don't you think?
I do.
One way or the other.
Yep. There's Rachel in her Nissan Rogue.
Oh, I blend in. I love anonymity, obviously. I have a gray Nissan Rogue. You can't find me in a needle and hay.
I know. How do you think I feel? I have a white Ford Escape. It's like everybody on the planet has those. You can't find me anywhere.
Little robots here. Gosh. Maybe.
Yeah?
Maybe yes.
I think I would.
I think for this conversation's sake, let's say I say yes.
Okay. Very cool. Now, okay, new hypothetical. You have the Nissan Rogue still. Only now you can have the Batwing doors.
On the Rogue?
Yeah. Would you do it?
Oh, yeah.
But here's the problem. In our garage right now,
how would I get in?
You'd be fine on the driver's side, but the passenger side, I couldn't get out.
Yeah, you have to wait until I let you out in the alley.
Yep,
you
for
couldn't
sure.
get in the garage.
Yeah, because the Batwing would scrape against like cabinetry and like up against the studs.
Very unpractical.
Yep, not practical.
I get
but
why they
so
didn't
cool.
like take off that idea. That makes a lot of sense now because you need so much clearance. Can you imagine parking at like a concert where you're like squeezed in?
Oh
You're
my
like,
gosh!
and you have to get
Yeah,
out the
that
trunk.
would be terrible. That's awful.
That makes sense.
So the original thing wasn't supposed to be a DeLorean, though. It was going to be a time-traveling chamber. It was made out of an old fridge that
okay.
Doc Brown would carry around on like his truck bed.
Okay.
And then they'd get it out. And then they weren't originally going to like. There's nothing with lightning or anything like that. There's like talk about plutonium in this movie,
Yep.
which is like a component for nuclear weapons. But there was like supposed to be like an old nuke would go off and it would send you back in time. That was like the original idea.
Oh, good.
But you'd be in the fridge, so you'd be fine because.
And everyone else around you would be fine as well.
Yeah,
Because
I'm
nukes
sure they would
obviously
be.
don't do that much damage.
Dropped a nuke on your fridge, you're fine. You went back in time. And so then they decided, no, we want it to be like a car. And Ford Mustang had heard about this movie and stuff. We're like, hey, Mustangs are super hot. We're in. We want to do it. And the producers and the Bobs were like, no, Ford Mustangs aren't cool enough. It has to be more futury.
Aren't cool
So they
enough?
decided the
Wow.
DeLorean, the Batwing DeLorean, has to be it. It has to be a futury kind of car.
Wow, boy, did they back the wrong horse. Am
Yeah.
I right?
Yeah, I love Ford Mustangs. So those three, they made 3 DeLoreans. They tricked them out. It cost $12 million in the budget.
Just for the cars.
Just for the cars and the gadgets and the tricks and everything.
And we only have 60 days.
We've got 60 days. Doc's original best friend, besides Marty,
Who's friends?
his best friend is Einstein.
The dog.
The dog, Einstein, wasn't supposed to be a dog.
A monkey.
You got it.
All great professors need a monkey as their sidekick, especially if you're going to do different testing or experiments. You want it to be a monkey so you know if it affects you as a human.
Yeah.
But he went the cheap route and got the dog to do it.
So the original monkey, what kind of monkey do you think it was?
Not a chimpanzee.
It was a chimpanzee.
It was a chimpanzee.
Yep.
This is kind of back when you could do chimpanzees
You could
safely.
yeah, they didn't
question
eat your
mark?
face. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Nobody had seen Nope yet.
Yep.
And so the chimpanzee, the studio execs, and the main producer that they were attached to, who made them pick Eric Stoltz, he was like, no movie on the planet has ever made money that has a chimp in it. And they're trying to like throw movies out to him. They're like, nope, that's not a chimp. That's like a little monkey. Nope, that's an orangutan. And they could not prove him wrong that there were no movies that had ever made money that had chimpanzees in it. So they had to change it to a dog just to suit the studio head who was kind of overseeing the movie.
Wow. Because he was stuck.
And little Einstein, when they do test audiences, so there's the moment where Einstein like gets zapped, right? And like Einstein's just gone. The test audiences booed
Yeah.
because they thought the dog was dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you think the dog was dead?
I didn't. I knew the dog wasn't dead because I knew that we were dealing with Disney, but I thought they were playing with fire.
Well, it
with
wasn't
that.
Disney. It was Universal.
Well, whoever they were playing with fire because it made me anxious, even though I knew they wouldn't kill the dog.
Yeah.
But the premise of like he's like surprised that it works.
Uh-huh.
Like, what if it didn't work? You just killed your dog. You
Yeah.
just killed your best friend.
Well, yeah, we just talked about the Philadelphia Project where like apparently ships were trying to be transported from the Atlantic Ocean to the Great Lakes.
Yeah.
And their molecules didn't come back together right, and some people had like arms sticking out of ship holes and stuff.
I don't
That's
think-
real.
I don't think it's real.
Spread that everywhere, everyone. That's real stuff.
I just don't think that's real.
That is reality. So the same thing could have happened. What if the dog was like halfway like merged with the car?
into the DeLorean.
Yeah.
That'd be wild.
That'd be wild.
I also want to point out, too, that when they are experimenting the first time, they have the car coming at them at like 80 miles an
Yep.
hour. And again,
He's so
he
confident.
doesn't move because he's so confident that it's going to jump into the future. But then again, when it leaves, he's surprised again. It's like,
Yep.
wait, how surprised were you? We were about to just get hit by this car, and you're like, it worked, yes!
Oh my gosh. So they actually added the lines. Wait, because Michael J is like, what happened? How did this happen? Or whatever. And Doc's like, don't worry. Einstein's fine. He's
Thank
alive. His
God.
molecules are intact or whatever like that. They had to add that because the audiences were just so taken aback. They're like, I can't believe they just killed that dog.
Wouldn't you love to be a test audience where you get to act like that?
Dude,
you get to boo in the movie
I would
theater?
give anything. You know how opinionated the two of us are? We would be great for test
I think
audiences.
we would
be like,
have a good time.
the acting of so-and-so sucked. Like, I don't know what you can do. You need to go back through the edit and look to see if there's better performance moments. But that scene was awful.
Yeah, I think if you and I get a couple of drinks and then we show up, we would have such a fun time roasting it or loving it too. Like, if I love it to the nth degree as well.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
Yep. We would be really good.
We would
hey,
be
that
so
scene,
good.
you got to tighten it up. Way too long.
I'm so bored.
I was bored on my mind.
I almost fell asleep.
You'd be like, I don't know. They're just a little mean, I think. So we're 6 weeks into filming now. 6 weeks out of our 62 days.
Oh, that isn't. Well, how many days is that?
We'll just say 8 weeks because 7 days a week, that's 56. Well, we'll give him 9 weeks,
Wait,
63.
what?
So it's 9 weeks. So we're already 6 weeks in.
Oh, Lord.
Eric is shitting the bed.
Yeah.
He is making Marty a total emo kid. He's just like so serious. It's just like it's a boring movie. And they're trying to get him to lighten up. They're trying to like mix clips together to like try to figure out like, okay, he kind of seems a little happy in this clip. Like, let's try to merge these together. Maybe he can be a little cheery. Wow. He's just like is showing no charisma. He's just like a dramatic actor in that movie. And it's not fun. Like the other actors aren't like working well off of him. Like imagine Christopher Lloyd with like an emo serious kid. Yeah. Like that just doesn't even work. It's awful. It's going terrible. And the Bobs are like, okay, that producer guy said he promised us. He said we could change him out. And so the first call that they make, who do you think they call though?
They don't call Michael J.
No, the first call they make.
Producer.
No. They've got to call their buddy Spielberg. We got to get the man of the hour in on this. Spiel, we're having major issues with Eric Stoltz. He freaking sucks. And Spielberg's like, don't worry, I got this. And so Spielberg like helps him kind of navigate it. They bring it to the producers. And the producer's like, okay, I made that promise with you. I think you guys are idiots. I think this is an awful decision, but go ahead, do it. Do your worst. Go cast Michael J. because that's who they want to go back to. They go back to Michael J. They've got to get through the Family Ties producers. And they're like literally beg on their hands and knees, the Family Ties producer, like, please, we promise we will, like, you set the schedule. We won't interfere with Family Ties at all. And he's like, look, if you can convince Michael J., this is going to be hard. Like, he's going to be acting all day for us. He's going to be driving to the studio to then act all night with you guys. And he's going to be driving back to us. Like, I don't know when he sleeps. And so you guys are going to have to figure that out. If Michael J's willing to do it and you'll work around everything with Family Ties, you can do it. And they said that they went to Michael J. They handed him the script. He put it in, he had the script in his hand, and then he had the script for Family Ties in his other hand, and he's kind of weighing them. And he's like, you know what? I don't think it's that big of a deal. And he didn't even read it. He's like, I'll do it. They had already like told him about the script, but he had like signed on. He's like, I want to do this.
Because he knew Spielberg was involved, so it's like, I'm in really good hands.
Yeah, Spielberg's got his back.
I'm going to be fine.
So he comes on a set, and it's like the whole cast is relieved. The studio, everybody who had been working for 6 weeks, though, with Eric Stoltz is like, oh my gosh, we're going to have to redo everything. But it's so fun with Mikey J on set that they understand like why they have to. So they redo all the scenes, and it takes a ton out of everybody.
Sure.
And they're on such a massive time crunch, but the scenes are now just alive.
Yeah.
It's just like the whole movie's a whole nother movie now, and things are just awesome.
Do I know your mother?
Yeah, I think maybe you do.
I believe it. He has so much charisma. He's super fun to watch. And like his acting is, even though like the circumstances are so like silly and so crazy, I think he's legitimately like very believable.
Oh, for sure.
And truthful in his acting, even though it's like a kitschy kind of 80s movie. You know? I think he still finds the realness within that. So that makes sense to me.
Yeah. Yep. He's a very talented guy. He talks about in his documentary, Mikey J just did one recently.
Did he?
And I think it just came out a few months ago, actually. And there's a sequence in it that I watched where it like talks about him just going from set to set and like sleeping in the car. And sometimes like the driver would just pick him up. and like put him in his bed for like an hour or two to sleep, and then they'd wake him up and the guy would already have coffee ready for him, and he'd grab his coffee and go into the shower, and then he'd drive him to the next set and he'd sleep in the car. So he's just getting like hour or two here at a time.
Garbage sleep.
Garbage sleep. Yep, garbage sleep constantly for a long time.
Yeah.
For like, I don't know, 7 weeks, 8 weeks. And well, Family Ties wraps, I think, before Back to the Future does. So I think it's maybe for like 4 weeks or something like that. But it's really, really hard on him. Yeah. But he, for being sleep deprived, is so good.
Yeah.
And
can't tell.
They think he's so funny. They actually end up changing some of the production design. Marty originally goes into the future just like wearing kind of black. And they think he's so funny that they want to like add color. I know, Eric Stoltz, like the emo kid.
Well, that's boring.
And so they want to go into the future now with like more color. And so they add an iconic costume piece.
The puffer vest.
The red puffer vest.
Which is hilarious because then everyone's like, you're going fishing? Are you all like,
are you a sailor?
Tell me, Marty, how long have you been in port?
Excuse me?
Well, I guessed you're a sailor, aren't you? That's why you wear that life preserver.
We love a puffer.
And all those jokes came about late in the process because that was an addition that happened later on. Yeah, which I think is brilliant. And that was just iconic, too, that vest.
That outfit. Yeah, if you go as that for Halloween, you've got to have a puffer vest.
Absolutely.
And his skateboarding. Can we talk about his skateboarding?
Yes.
He's such a good skateboarder.
He's great at skateboarding.
Did he do all of his own stunts or just like most of them?
He did a lot of them. The ones with the sparks flying off, that is not him. But sometimes on the back of the cars, when he's like riding on the back of those cars, that is him.
That's the only way I think to ride a skateboard successfully is to hold on to something.
I actually loved that. Like, I thought, oh, that's amazing.
Yeah,
like, you don't
I
ever
agree.
have to do any of the actual skateboard stuff. You can just hold on to a car and it'll take you there.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if skateboards, how cool were they at this moment?
In the 80s?
Yeah.
85?
Mid-80s?
I mean, skateboards are always cool.
Oh, okay.
Wouldn't we say?
Yeah, it wasn't, like, what could you do now that if somebody was doing that, you'd be like, oh, they're kind of like a little fringy, like cool. They're not like the coolest, but like that's a cool, fun thing to do.
Is it still skateboards?
It might
Is
be
that
skateboards
always,
again.
Are we always just like cooler Jace?
I mean, now people ride those motorized scooters like from place to place.
Yeah, but that's not cool.
I don't think so either.
A skateboard is cool because you actually need to be good at it.
Yeah. Well, I did.
Still skateboard.
There's a scene in this movie where Biff and his gang are chasing Michael J. Fox while he's on a skateboard, and I feel like you could catch a person on a skateboard really easily.
Oh, I don't know. If you
think
going
they get that
enough-
fast?
yeah, I think so. If you're just running after somebody.
Yeah. Let's say I'm sprinting and they're skateboarding as fast as they can.
Yeah.
You don't think I could catch them?
No, they'll beat you.
I think I can catch them.
No, I don't think so.
I couldn't catch a cyclist, but I could catch a skateboarder,
Well,
I
you
think.
can't catch them for very long because you can't sprint very long, and they can skateboard a long time.
But it takes a lot to like do the like push up.
I mean, you gotta let them get going a little bit. but
Oh,
once they
now I
get-
have to let him get going, huh? If I'm Biff and I'm at the thing and he just grabbed the kid's scooter deal and he pulls off the basket and now he's gonna skateboard. If I'm Biff, I caught Michael J. There's no doubt in my mind.
suppose.
I got him. And I pummel him. And I don't get my car into poop. So Michael J., we talked about how talented he is with skateboarding. He also, so he doesn't sing in the movie. It's his obvious dub.
I really wish they would have found like not the original person
For Johnny B.
voice to
Good?
use. Yeah, that would have been more fun.
Yep.
Let me like half kind of believe that he sang it.
He does know how to play a lot of guitar, though.
Does he?
And he does all the fingerings. It's not actually him playing from a sound perspective, but like the fingerings and things like that are all
pretty
pretty
close?
legit. Yeah, and then obviously he goes like wild in that scene. But that's just kind of all makeup stuff.
Yeah,
But in general, he knows chords. He knows how to
fun.
finger pick and stuff, so he knows a little bit of guitar stuff. But one of the problems he was starting to have,
Parkinson's was
his
kicking
Parkinson's
already?
was just starting to kick in at this moment.
Oh, it's just that's such a sad story.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And they mention, I don't think it's in this one. I think it's in 2, maybe. There's some running scenes that he kind of limps. And one of the reasons he limps is because he just can't run like he used to because his Parkinson's is starting to act up more and more. But his fingers weren't fast enough to do a lot of the finger stuff.
Yeah.
And so that's why they couldn't use his actual sound.
Ugh, I just can't believe that happened so young. When he was so young, you know, and at the height of his career. Like, I just think it's amazing that he had continued to have a career. You know, just because that can just end it.
Yep. Well, that's why in the 90s, he starts doing a lot of his own produced work.
Oh, okay.
Because he wants to be able to do things that he knows, like, okay, I can fix this script in a way that it's not going to impact, like, I'm going to be able to handle this. Or I'm kind of like, not the director, but I'm like the overseer. And so I could tell the director, like, hey, my legs are really crazy today. Film it waist up. You know, like he can kind of have power over that. So he started to kind of self-produce a lot more, like in the 90s.
Yeah, can adapt it to him.
They show this to test audiences. I mentioned how they felt about Einstein, but in general, test audiences go freaking crazy for this movie, and they love it. And so the 4th of July release, the studios are like, "Yep, we're definitely going to do the 4th of July release because it's one of the biggest weekends of the summer, and this is going to be huge." And they know it's going to be huge. And Universal's so pumped that they get it done on time, they like take out a big advertisement in Variety and just say like, "Thank you, Back to the Future cast and crew, for your hard work in getting this movie done on time." So like it was like a big display of like appreciation.
Everybody knew that they rushed it to the end.
You guys really killed yourselves for this, and especially when you recast Eric Stoltz, like that's really, really incredible.
Wow. Wow.
This bad boy comes out July 3rd, 1985. Movie costs $19 million to make, and it makes $11.3 million on opening weekend. It actually opens at number 8.
Oh, wow.
It's behind Goonies.
Goonies is the same time?
Yep.
Oh.
It had been out for a while, but
sure,
yes.
but still.
Goonies, St. Elmo's Fire.
What?
And Rambo 2. We're all ahead of it. It's opening weekend.
You know, some people talk about this summer being crazy with Barbie and Oppenheimer, but like, what would it be like to be alive in the summer of 85?
85.
Boy, what?
Let me just say those movies again.
Crazy.
Back to the Future.
Yeah.
You can go to the theater and see Back to the Future, Goonies, St. Elmo's Fire, St. Elmo's Fire,
Or Rambo 2.
or Rambo 2, First Blood. That's when he goes to Korea. And he literally stabs a guy with his knife that goes all the way through his back and into through his chest. It's that big of a knife.
Oh.
Very cool.
Very cool.
So, but the next week, it jumps from number 8 to number 1.
Yeah.
And it stays at number 1 for 12 weeks. Besides a tiny dip, it dips to number 2 like 6 weeks in because National Lampoon's European Vacation comes out. But only for a week. And then it's right back up.
Awesome.
So 11.3 mil opening weekend, 19 mil is how much it cost. And when it's at number 8, it makes $385 million overall. It's the biggest grossing film of 85.
Yeah.
And it's just a crazy success. 19 mil to make, over almost 400 million in profit.
Incredible.
Yep.
If you had it, would you want to be a part of a movie like that? Versus, like, let's say you can either pick one movie where you're just like the gal, like you're just the girlfriend in this movie.
Yep.
You can choose that where your movie makes a butt ton of money and is like infamous. Or you can have like a career where you make a bunch of like smaller films and you have to make enough to live off of, but nothing is ever like big.
What's my biggest movie? Like, what's a comp for my biggest movie?
In the other one?
Yep.
Willard. But you're not Willard. You're just somebody in it.
Oh, wait, I'm just somebody in it? I'm always a supporting character?
Well, yeah, you can make enough to live off of, but you're not
I thought it was you can do a bunch of small films and be the lead, or you can be the girlfriend in this movie that's the highest grosser.
Yeah.
But no, your hypothetical is...
Lots of little ones. You're not the lead. You're never the lead, but with one, you work more consistently, and you're doing that versus like you've like a flash in the pan.
Oh, that's so hard. That's tricky. Because to be able to tell people, I was in Back to the Future.
Right.
You'd be like,
And like
who were you? Be like, I was the girlfriend. And they'd be like, oh my gosh, you were the girlfriend.
Yeah.
That would be an amazing thing you could do for the rest of your life. Well, if I was like, I've been in a few things. I was in Willard. I was in Charlie's Angels. And they're like, who were you? I was like, I was like, I had 5 lines. You probably don't remember me.
Cook.
Yeah, I was the cook in that one scene. That scene, I was in the shop.
Yeah, you're under 5, we'll say.
Always in under 5, but I'm not an extra.
Not an extra.
I always get lines.
Yeah.
I take the girlfriend role.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, because she at least had a character. These other ones don't sound like I have characters.
Well,
it sounds like I'm just
that's up to you to make.
I feel like my character, even though he says, "Can you pass the cilantro?" I feel like he wouldn't sit here at this table and do this. Fired.
Get out of here.
Let's talk taglines. Rach, do you have a tagline that you would want to make up for this movie?
Why don't you start, and then I'll see if that unlocks any creative juices.
He was never in time for his classes. He wasn't in time for his dinner. Then one day, he wasn't in time at all.
That's good.
All right, next one. Marty McFly's having the time of his life. The only question is, what time is it? And then there's the last one. Meet Marty McFly. He's broken the time barrier, busted his parents' first date, and maybe botched his chances of ever being born.
I mean, that kind of spoils it, doesn't it?
It totally
A little
spoils
bit?
it. I would say,
I don't want a tagline to
to
spoil
me,
it.
my favorite one is number 2, but I like number 1 as well. Number 3 is just kind of a plot synopsis. I don't like when tags are pretty much plot synopsis.
Yeah, no, just like be cute and be funny and witty. And
if you're wondering
be
what
brief.
that movie's about, look at the trailer. That's my advice to everybody.
For sure.
Watch the trailer.
Yeah, my tagline would be something along the lines, I would want to point out the vanity plate that's on the DeLorean. I don't know if you saw that.
I did not.
Doc Brown had time to make a vanity plate.
Oh,
for
very
it,
cool.
And it says, "At a time." I don't know what the tagline is, but it's something related to that. And
Something
just the fact
about out
that
of time.
we're out of time, but we still had time to make a vanity plate.
Rotten Tomatoes score. Do you want to take a stab at what the percent is?
Oh, I would say in the 80s, maybe.
Higher.
Oh, that's good. 90s.
93%.
93. Awesome.
Audience score? 94%.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, just to kind of show the critics, what's up?
Hey.
How about this? 94.
I see you're 93, and I'll raise you to 94.
Here's the critics' consensus. Inventive, funny, and breathlessly constructed. Back to the Future is a rousing time travel adventure with an unforgettable spirit. Here are some of the other critics.
Yeah.
Empire. To put it bluntly, if you don't like Back to the Future, it's difficult to believe that you like films at all. The New York Post. Lost in confusion. Director Robert Zemeckis and co-scriptwriter Bob Gale don't know how to end the far-out fantasy they've created, and the smell of an equally silly sequel permeates the air like a gas leak.
Ooh, a gas leak.
And then we already mentioned President Reagan said, "Where we're going, we don't need roads." So he loved it.
Which is why I won't build them.
Which is why we don't need to pass those Democrats' infrastructure bill. We don't need roads. The original ending to this movie, I'd like to spend some time kind of talking about the ending.
Okay.
The original ending was going to be Marty goes to this super futuristic world, and it was really CGI. Like it was kind of going to be weird. And the execs didn't like it, and the reason they didn't like it was going to cost $6 million just to do the future. And so they had that ending, and the execs were like, is there any way we can cut that ending and do something different? And the Bobs were like, okay, let's think about it. And they came up with what the ending is.
I like the
Explain
ending.
the ending to people.
Yeah.
Let's spoiler ending.
Spoils. So Marty gets back and he realizes that his family is very different. His dad, instead of being a pushover and kind of this nerdier guy, must have found some confidence when he was back in high school beating up the bully.
Yep.
And now wrote a science fiction novel that got published. His mom is very in love with her husband.
Not an alcoholic anymore.
She's not an alcoholic. She's not drinking as
not
much.
as chubby.
She's thinner. They just got back from tennis because it's the 80s and that's what you did.
Oh my gosh, that is what you did in the 80s. You always played tennis.
Yeah, your parents have rackets and my parents have rackets.
And
Ty, where are our rackets?
I don't know. And how many times have you seen your parents play tennis?
I mean, nowadays, none.
Maybe
once.
I saw my parents play tennis maybe one time when I was a kid, and that was it. And my mom and I would play tennis on occasion, and that's it.
It's an interesting sport, and there's a lot of space in this world that's devoted to tennis courts.
Yeah.
They take up a lot of space for a two-person
What
sport.
I'll say is there have always been places in society that people would meet that were courts. And it wasn't for tennis, it was for a different thing. But the French, when they planned to do the French Revolution, they also met on courts.
Okay.
Yeah, it was the something courts that they would meet and they'd plan okay, here's how a revolution we overthrow the government's going to look like.
Oh, wow.
Yep, so that was always a popular thing.
Oh, interesting.
Maybe that's why they're still around, just in case.
Just in case.
But if there was a revolution now, I don't think it would be tennis courts. It would be
Pickleball courts.
Yeah, probably now those losers, bunch of old white rich guys. But no, I think it would be the basketball court. Be like, hey, let's overthrow the government.
Let's settle this on the court.
Let's settle this on the court. You bring your best conservative player, and we'll have the best liberal player, and they'll play for a win. So, what'd you think about the ending?
I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
I like it better than some CGI version that wouldn't age well. So kudos, good job, guys.
Mm-hmm.
I would be a little unnerved if I was Michael J. Because like, what else did I change? Like, everything is just so positive. I still get like my dream car that I wanted, and that hasn't changed. My girlfriend's still my girlfriend. We're still gonna go out on a lake trip this weekend.
Yeah, which totally everybody knows what that means.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, his mom's okay that they're going to be going to hook up on this lake for the whole weekend.
It was very crazy.
It's like, yeah, you've been waiting for this for a long time.
You got your big lake weekend.
Got your big lake weekend. You got to lose your virginity.
And how everyone's in high school? Yeah,
Yeah.
he's in high school.
I took it he was a senior.
How about his siblings? They're in high school too?
No, I think his siblings are older. Because he's the shortest and youngest looking in the photo. I think his brother is probably like out of college even.
Oh yeah, because he was working at Burger King in the original version. Then he's got he goes to the office, but they're all still living at home, which is also interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. So I took it as like he's maybe 23, 4-ish with the bad hairline. And then she is probably like in college still because she's talking about boys a lot.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
And so, yeah, that's how I always took it as. But how do you feel about like it's better now because they all changed because they're not who they were. Like who they were wasn't good enough.
Well, I don't know if you can say that or if it's
Dad was a geek.
Yeah.
Even though he seemed
but
happy.
He didn't reach his full potential because he had lacked confidence. And I don't know that the confidence piece is like a critique. Like you're not good enough. I think it's more about like, no, you were one step away from like living your dream, but you had the confidence to pursue your dream, and that wouldn't have happened if you didn't meet your son back in 1955.
How do you feel that like now Crispin Glover, who got bullied by Biff all the time, now he bullies Biff?
Does he bully Biff? He hired Biff to buff the car. I don't know if that's a bully.
That's
per
true.
Se.
Yeah, and then he goes, "Oh, that Biff, you gotta be careful. He's always trying to pull one over on you." Yeah, it's really not that bad.
He's still he's not a mean person. He doesn't become the bully, I would say. He just becomes successful.
And Biff comes in and like gives him the book and stuff, and it seems like they're kind of like friends a little bit. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, can we talk about Biff?
Yeah, let's talk about Biff.
I just wrote down, ew, Biff.
That's exactly what they wanted you to feel.
Just turn around, McFly, and walk away. Are you deaf, McFly? Close the door and beat it.
No, Biff. You leave her alone.
Yeah, but I didn't know they wanted me to feel like to that extent. And maybe that's because the theme of assault maybe wasn't as like, it was a little bit lighter back in the day.
Oh, man.
But like,
yeah, I have rapey boys written down too.
It's so rapey. It's a little triggering, to be honest.
Yeah.
I thought like, oh my God, like this is like really,
yeah,
this is an intense scene.
He was going to rape Leah Thompson in that car.
He was, and I feel like this is a PG movie, and I feel like we just touched on something
it's 80s PG.
I know, but
PG-13.
like, and that just shocked me a little bit to think back, like, oh, 80s PG, like, looks at this as like, oh, boys being boys. I mean, it doesn't, obviously, it's bad, right?
Yeah.
They don't make it like that's a cool thing to do, but it doesn't warrant the seriousness that a scene like that now would warrant.
Yep.
Like, they'd be like, hey, somebody call the cops. Like, he needs to go to jail.
He's
attempted rapist over here.
Absolutely.
But, yeah, and he just gets punched, and then we're like, okay, I'll teach him.
He got his comeuppance.
Yep, that's an eye for an eye.
Yep,
Try to rape a girl, you get punched in the nose, and then you'll learn.
Yeah, then you'll learn, and you're buffing cars the rest of your life. So there was I don't know where I'm going with this. So Crispin Glover hated the ending. He hated the ending.
Cool.
He didn't want to be cool. He thought that and the reason why I was asking you about like the changing and stuff like that. So he refuses to do the next two movies because he hates the ending so much. He says that it ends with us being rich instead of us like just discovering who we are. Like, why do we have to have money? Why do we have to why do we have to be successful? Why can't we just be a happy family? Like maybe that's the takeaway is like, oh, I'm going to pay more attention to my wife now because of these changes, because I really had to fight for her rather than like I
just,
lucked
lucked
into it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm not going to take her for granted anymore. Instead, and so that was his big complaint is the rich stuff. And so he was so upset about the ending. And then when he saw it, it just made him more mad. That then they asked him, they're like, all right, you want to come back for number 2? Because there's like some pretty big sequences with him in number 2.
Sure.
Not big, but a few scenes.
Well, yeah, I mean, but that's a huge movie, and you're gonna say no to that?
Yeah. And
Wow.
he goes, yeah, I'll do it. For $1 million. And at this time, that's like
That's still way
crazy
too
for
much.
Crispin Glover to demand $1 million. Like Michael J, that's different, but Crispin doesn't get $1 million for this.
No.
And the studio was just like, absolutely not.
No, we recast the girlfriend, we'll recast the dad.
Yeah.
We're not above that.
Yep. So they totally got rid of him. They cast like a lookalike and who acts like Crispin Glover, and then Crispin Glover sued them. And
Oh, seriously?
Yep. And so he was super mad. And then the producers, the writer, Bob Gale, he told everybody like at reunion shows and stuff, they're like, why isn't Crispin Glover here and stuff? He's like, because Crispin Glover asked for $1 million and was a big dick about like the end of the movie. And so, yeah, he's not here, but we welcome him in if he wants to join us. And then Crispin Glover heard about what Bob Gale was saying.
Yeah.
He's like, absolutely not. I'll never be a part of that damn franchise. It's the worst. Because he's so mad that Bob told people that he asked for $1 million.
Well, he's difficult. I mean, you're going to be, I don't know. I don't think you can ask for $1 million and then like turn around and be mad that someone told that you asked for $1 million. You're going to ask for $1 million. Ask for $1 million. But then you got to stick to your guns and say like, yeah, it was worth $1 million.
Yep.
You can't be like, no, why did you tell everyone? Now everyone knows I'm a jerk. It's like, I don't know. What'd
you think of back to Biff? Because I don't want to lose your Biff stuff.
Oh,
Biff. You Biff.
Biff.
What'd you think of the actor? Was the character too much? Like, what were your feelings about Biff?
Yeah, I think the character, for me, it was a little too much. Like especially, and I know that they had a callback to like the noogies and stuff that he did with Crispin when they were kids. So that made it make more sense. But initially, when I was watching it, when they're at the beginning of it and they're in present
older?
day, and he's doing that to him as adults, it's like, what is that? It felt weird. It felt like bullies stuffing kids in the locker, and it's like, okay, that's just like a weird stereotype that everybody has, but it's like too over the top, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So I felt that a little bit with their relationship to start, and then once we got back into like the 50s, it made a little bit more sense. Yeah, I don't know. It's a bit of a cliche, but it probably is where a lot of those cliches. It probably was a cliche before the others were. So I don't know.
Yeah,
it's a bit much.
I think he's over the top. I think you can tell he's not like an actor that he is like a comedian. It like feels like a comedian was given an acting role and that's like what they did with it. You know, like that makes sense to me. He's kind of an interesting character in that he loves that he did this movie and he loves the fan attention that he gets for it, but he's been like overwhelmed by like how much people come up to him and want to talk. And so he carries around cards with him that have like the top 10 most frequently asked questions and his responses. Like, what's your favorite part about being in the films? What were your fellow actors like? Like just all these like common questions he gets. What? And he like people come up and they're like, hi, it's so nice to meet you. I have some questions for you. And he'll like shake their hand and be like, it's really nice to meet you. I'm glad you like the film. Here's the card. Just
FAQ.
It answers all of your questions. We don't need to talk anymore about that. You don't have to ask me questions, but just it's so good to meet you.
That's very funny.
It just helps him like avoid these answers over and over and over again.
Sure. Man, you'd have to really be overwhelmed in order to create cards for that.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
and carry them around in your billfold.
Yeah, and lose them.
Yep. So the producers did not like the name Back to the Future. It just like didn't make sense to them. They're like, what do you mean Back to the Future? Like, shouldn't it be Ahead to the Future or Back to the Past? Like, it's just it's an oxymoron. And they wanted to name it, the main producer guy, the Eric Stoltz guy, like he had a lot of like weird ideas. He wanted to name it Spaceman from Pluto.
Well, no.
So he sent that to the Bobs. He's like, I think it should be named Spaceman from Pluto, not Back to the Future. And that guy has like a total, like super control over this project. And they're like, shit, what are we going to do?
It's going to be a flop.
Who do the Bobs go to?
Spielberg.
They go to their buddy Spiel. And Spiel goes, I know exactly what to do. And he writes back and he faxes back to him. Ha ha ha, that's a hilarious joke. Keep them coming. These joke titles are so funny. And he like put it back to him, knowing that he'd be like too ashamed and to admit it wasn't a joke, especially to Spielberg, because Spielberg's the top guy. Wow. And so he like helped them get out of that whole spaceman from Pluto business.
Incredible. Incredible Spielberg.
Rach, why are Doc and Marty friends?
I don't know. Does it say in the movie?
It does not.
Oh, okay. You want me to make up?
Nope. So we know, all we know is that Marty is pretty much Doc's like assistant, goes over and like helps him out with his stuff and like plays guitar over there. That's like kind of the thing he gets out of it. He gets a really loud speaker that he gets to play with. And that's kind of all we know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a little weird, I would say.
So Bob Gale, the screenwriter, he like has a backstory. He tells people, they're like, why are Marty and Doc friends?
Because people have questions.
Yeah, and he's like, okay. Marty, one time, broke into Doc's house, saw all the cool scientific equipment and was kind of playing around. Doc discovered him and was like, hey, what are you doing? And he's like, I just think all this stuff is so cool. Like, you got this big speaker here. I'd love to play guitar on it sometime. And Doc was kind of taken aback that he didn't think he was a weirdo. And then he thought he was cool and was like, oh, okay. Why don't you keep hanging out? And then he just like gradually became friends. And they're like, oh, why don't you become my assistant now? And so that's why he's the assistant.
But what doesn't make sense, though, is like the Marty wouldn't have the impetus to break into something.
I know.
Like,
that part
doesn't
make
fit his character
sense.
At all.
Nope.
No, if anything, it's like he's
But maybe
really
he was like in middle
science.
school. Maybe he was like broken in middle school when you're like a mischievous middle school boy. And now he's in high school and it's been going on for 4 years.
Okay.
5 years.
Maybe. I kind of think like it's a happenstance thing. It's got to be like a Sandlot where like the baseball like flew over the fence and then like, oh, I wasn't breaking in, I was just getting my baseball.
Sure.
And then they're
James
besties.
Earl Jones is like, why don't you sit? Why don't you sit? Why don't you sit down? I can't do it. It's impossible.
Nobody can. It's James Earl Jones.
I bet my buddy James Van Ort, who has a very low voice, could do it. He's a bass too. He could do it.
We're sure of it.
Rach, there are a lot of people who try to like go through shot by shot and spot Eric Stoltz because the time crunch was so fast.
Oh, cool.
That there are scenes where like people with Marty running from far away, or from like things happening where you just see like an over the shoulder, and people are like, I think that's Eric Stoltz, or I think that's Eric Stoltz. And there's one moment that Biff says that was Eric Stoltz. Okay. And it's been kind of proven wrong by the directors who are like, no, I've seen the shot list and it wasn't Eric Stoltz. It was actually a stand-in. Okay. But Biff swears that the scene in the diner where he gets punched is not Michael J. Fox. Because Michael J. never punched him. Okay. He said Michael J. threw the punch and his stand-in was sitting there. But he never filmed that scene with Michael J. where he was taking a punch like across the face. Oh, and that the only person that he ever worked with was Eric on that scene. Okay. And but the directors are like, no, you wouldn't have worked with Michael J. You worked with his stand-in in that scene, according to the shot list. But Biff is like, no, I'm telling you, it was Eric Stoltz.
I would actually go with the actor on this one because sometimes you just have it in your head like, nope, I remember this person punched me. That's who it was. Yep. Versus what your shot list says.
There wasn't supposed to be any sequels.
Yeah.
This is supposed to be a standalone movie,
even though they set it up like, we've got to go back to the future.
Wait, what was that? You sound like Sean Connery. We've got to go.
We've got to go back to the future.
But eventually, because it was such a success, they signed on to do a couple more, and they film them back to back. Oh, okay. They just do 2. They take like a couple week break, and then they go right into 3.
Honestly, it's probably not a bad idea if you're gonna do it, then do it while everyone's still young and you don't have like the lapse of time. Especially if we're gonna try to believe that everybody is still in high school or early college. We gotta get those puppies out. Yep. Don't do the Stranger Things thing where it's like 8 years in between
Lucas
them.
Lucas is mid-20s now, and you're like, oh my gosh. He's like, yeah, what are we gonna do now, kids? He's like James Earl Jones now.
He's like James Earl Jones, but like in little boy shorts. And you're like, this is weird. You're too old for this.
Yeah, for sure. Oh my gosh. So those movies come out in 89 and 90. And so number 2 does not do as well.
Mm-hmm.
It does well, I think, critically and financially. Not critically. It does well financially.
Uh-huh.
But number 2, which was my favorite for the longest time.
Sure.
Because it's futury, the hoverboards.
Yeah.
I just thought it was so fun as a kid.
Yeah.
It's a 63% on Rotten Tomatoes, so I think it does not hold up as well.
All right. That's not terrible.
And I love number 1's my favorite now.
Mm-hmm.
But number 3 is an 80%. That's the one they go to the Wild West.
Oh,
and
80%?
I, as a kid, did not like number 3 at all. I thought I would always watch 1 and 2 and then never watch 3. I just didn't like it.
Okay.
And then we saw number 3 in chemistry class, and I was like, oh, this one is kind of fun. But I still think it's not as good as number 1. Number 1's easily the best, I think.
So number 1, and then which one between 2 and 3 for you?
Well, I haven't seen them for so long, but
Should we watch them?
I'm still going to say 2 and 3.
Okay.
Yeah, because the future.
Well, I
Hoverboards.
haven't, so we better watch them.
Yeah.
We gotta figure it out.
Well, what's the problem with number 2? You heard Doc Brown kind of allude to it.
Donald Trump's the president.
No. No, he says your
kids.
your kids. It's
Yeah.
not you.
It's your kids.
It's your kids.
Cool.
So get ready for that.
I am ready. Let's go now.
Yes. There used to be something at Universal Studios that I'm so bummed I never got to do because it got replaced.
Was
And
it a Back to the Future ride?
Did you ever go on it?
I don't remember, but I'll be honest. Why are they getting rid of rides
That
like
and the
that?
Jaws ride?
That makes no sense to me. Like, do not place Jaws with. I don't even know what they replaced
It's
it
just
with.
gone now. It's just like an empty dock now. I don't
But they're
know.
putting something else in it, but it'll be something that's not as big or as important.
I would love the Jaws ride.
The Jaws ride is classic. You don't see Disney getting rid of Splash Mountain. You don't see
Sure.
Disney getting rid of the Dumbo elephant ride.
Mhm.
You just have to have the classics because they're the classics.
Yeah.
Jaws is that for Universal.
Yeah, for sure.
And they got rid of it.
Guess what ride they replaced Back to the Future with? I could not be more pissed because this is a cool property, but it is the ride that destroyed me the most.
Fast and Furious.
No, good guess though. But no, Fast and Furious was actually okay. No, there was a ride that was it was in a car and it was like 3D and I just almost puked and you did too and it kind of ruined our day.
At Universal?
At Universal Studios.
Was it Harry Potter?
No.
Oh, we got sick on the one, but that doesn't.
No, that wasn't that one.
Oh, remember that little kid came out? It's like, it's going to make your tongue hurt.
Yeah, that little
And
kid.
he was right.
It's gonna make your tongue hurt. I'm like, yeah, it is gonna make my tongue hurt. You're right. No, the Simpsons ride.
Oh, God. Oh,
that was easily the worst
that
ride.
almost
That and the
wrecked
Jimmy
me.
Fallon ride.
That
Those
almost
were the
wrecked
two
me.
that I was like, I'm gonna vomit all over the place.
Okay,
right
so
now.
then I have never been on the Back to the Future ride. If that's where it was, the only other time I've gone there, it was a Simpson ride that also wrecked me as a child, but less so because I feel like I was better at being dizzy when you were younger.
Yeah,
and
you
the older
always
you
are.
get, you just
Yep.
can't be dizzy anymore.
Yes.
Yes.
But that was the Back to the
Oh.
Future ride. Now, what I'll say is I love that there is a Simpsons land
Yeah.
because I going to Moe's Tavern and getting Duff beer is one of my
That was
favorite
so
things.
fun.
That was awesome. But
Yes.
you can't take Back to the Future away.
Yeah, you got to move it somewhere.
You gotta move it.
Again,
It's
like,
kind of by Men in Black too. They
you
were
don't
kind of
get
by
rid
each
of
other.
E.T. I don't know.
I love the ET ride.
That was a
It's a
good time,
trippy, wild show. I feel like I'm on shrooms, but man, that was fun.
It was a good
I
time.
loved it. So there's a musical that just opened.
Yes.
Like just opened, like a couple
Yes.
weeks ago. We
Yeah,
have a
we
couple
had some friends
buddies
who
who
went to
went
go
and saw
see
it,
it.
and
Yeah.
apparently loved it because they have like 1,000 pieces of merch.
I bet it
Shout
was
out to the
awesome.
Waynes. And so I think that musical is probably because based on the early reviews, I think it's gonna be up for a Tony.
Oh,
Don't think it's
yeah?
gonna win a Tony, but it's
But
gonna be
it's
up
gonna
for
be-
one.
yeah.
I feel pretty confident about that.
Cool. That's fun.
Yeah. Would you ever want to be in that musical?
I don't know. I haven't heard it yet.
Well, see, here's
I
my
mean,
question.
Probably, but like, who do you play the mom?
Are we too old to play Crispin Glover and Leah Thompson now?
No, I think we're perfect because I think we can go both ways.
Yeah. See,
On stage.
that's what I hope.
I can't on film yet play a high
Yeah.
schooler, but I bet on stage I could get away with high school.
I think I could probably too. I might have to. I might have to do some touch of gray. I might have to touch up the gray a
Oh
little
yeah,
bit.
you can't go to high school being gray,
But
even though you were gray.
but I think the rest of me I could get by
For
on
sure.
to play the Crispin Glover role,
For sure.
which sounds so fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if the music's any good. It might be like Pretty Woman where I'm like, yes, finally, the perfect role for me. And then I listen to the music, I'm like, blah. The Bobs have said there will be never. There will be never.
There will be never.
There will be never be another Back to the Future movie.
Yeah.
We'll never see number 4. We'll never see a remake. They have no desire to let this property kind of get away from them. And so never to think that there will be another thing. They just say, if you want to see Back to the Future, go watch it.
Yeah.
It's there for you.
I agree with that 100%. I sometimes think we get too much into the remake world that we
like
stop
the Harry
being...
Potter remakes that are going to happen?
Oh, yeah. I forgot about
like
those.
that. What?
Yeah. What was wrong with the original?
Number 7 just came out, what, in 2012 maybe, or 11? And we're already going to start remaking them 10 years later?
Well, just like it lacks creativity. I think even keeping that franchise, but then like going back and like retelling a different story, I think, no, like do something brand new.
Yeah.
And granted, yep, it's nostalgic and I get wrapped up into it too, but it's never as good as the original. It just isn't. Even no matter how good they make it, even though critically it probably should be better. Just come up with something new.
Come up with something new. Yeah, even stay in the world. Like, you could do like another kind of Back to the Future like plot, but just name it something else and do something different.
Yeah, and don't get sued in the process.
And don't get sued. Maybe ask the Bobs if it's cool if you steal a little bit of their concept.
Yeah, maybe it's a Ford Mustang that goes back and not a DeLorean.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
Maybe they're just regular doors.
Rach, I have 2 more sections.
Okay.
Well, I have 3 more sections.
Oh, wow.
I've got moments, quotes, and acting.
Okay.
What would you like to talk about first?
We can touch on the acting because I feel like we kind of have a little bit already. I think Michael J. is brilliant. And honestly, everybody else is pretty good too. I mean, there are some characters written, like the Biff bully character is whatever, but I think he serves his role. That's on paper, I'm sure. I already said Crispin is good and weird, and it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, Crispin's great.
Emma Thompson. Nope.
Leah versus Emma.
Leah
what an
and Emma.
acting battle.
Wow. Leah Thompson, I think is really good in this too.
Yeah, I like her when she's younger. I don't like Mom Leah.
No.
I think Mom Leah sucks. I honestly think like her acting is just like she's trying too hard to be old.
To be tired.
It's like, I guess when you're old, you talk slower and you just sound like you have no energy. It's almost like somebody told her like, yeah, that's what being a mom is like. And she's like, okay, I think I know what to do. It just felt like it was a very stereotypical choice.
Sure.
That I wanted to just see. You can have more life and you could just be drinking and look forlornly at your husband who's more interested in watching TV than you. Like, that's enough.
It's only 30 years. Like it's not that big a difference. I don't think.
Yeah.
You're not 70, Leah.
Yep. Yeah, so she would have been she was supposed to be 48 in this movie.
So tired.
So tired.
So tired at 48.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah, so I didn't like Leah Thompson as old, but I liked her a lot when she was young. She's so cute.
She's super fun. And Christopher Lloyd just does such a good job at that zany character. I'm so glad he got over himself and wanting to be a serious theater actor that he would like just lean into what God made you to do.
What'd you think of his
crazy characters?
His takes to the camera. He breaks the fourth wall multiple times.
Does he?
If he doesn't, he's so close to the camera focal point that it looks like he does. He even points, and he points directly into the camera.
Does
and
he?
It felt like a moment that they were trying to, they're like, yeah, Doc, it's like,
You're coming for him.
Yeah, like you were like trans-dimensional. Like you can go anywhere.
I did not pick up on that, but yeah. Wow.
Super cool.
Whoa.
Bold. There were a lot of supporting characters, though, that really annoyed me. There's the, number one, the siblings at the dinner table.
Oh, sure.
I think they're terrible. And I was just like, oh, gosh. It just annoys me when you have small parts like that you're like, just cast actors who are decent at their jobs for some of these smaller parts. You had the farm family when he goes back in time. I thought the farm family was just atrocious. Like, they're like, don't even know how to deliver dialogue. They're like, oh, wow, what is this? And he's like, oh, I'm gonna not let that guy get all that alien off my property. Like, it just was so terrible. I could have done without all those actors.
Sure.
Atrocity. Any other acting things you'd bring up?
I don't think so.
Let's go to quotes next.
Okay. Let's.
Favorite quotes in the movie, Rach?
I love the quote when he's at the dance and he kind of saves the dance and does a little rock and roll number with them, but then like takes it a little too far and does like this like 80s rock and roll guitar style solo, and then he has to stop himself because everyone's looking at him, and he's like, "Oh, guess you kids aren't ready for that yet."
I guess you guys aren't ready for that yet. But your kids are gonna love it.
Oh, so fun.
Yeah, but your children will.
Yes.
Children will really like it or something like that. I really like when Doc Brown goes, "You're about to see some serious shit."
My calculations are correct. When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
That's so funny.
I like, this is more of a bit, but the whole like Calvin Klein underwear
My
thing
gosh,
is so funny
that's so
I'm
funny.
sure that was like in its heyday right now. Everybody had Calvin Klein underwear.
Yeah, but
apparently
not existing in the 50s. You're like, oh, you put your name on your underwear.
yeah, because that's what people do. It's all of your underwear.
Calvin.
Your name's Calvin. They go by Cal.
I've never seen purple underwear before, Calvin.
Calvin, why do you keep calling me Calvin?
Well, that is your name, isn't it? Calvin Klein? It's written all over your underwear.
I like, "Why don't you make like a tree and get out of here?" That Biff, he thinks he created that line. He said
What?
it was an ad for him, and "make like a tree and leave" is the quote.
Yep.
And he's like, I had never heard anybody say it, and I was like, I think he's so dumb, he's gonna mess up the quote. Why don't you make like a tree and get out of here? So he's pretty sure he invented
made it.
that.
Since you're new here, I'm gonna cut you a break today. So why don't you make like a tree and get out of here?
He's got a lot of false memories, it sounds like.
What'd you think about 1.22 gigawatts?
But I need a nuclear reaction to generate the 1.21 gigawatts of electricity. 1.21 gigawatts! 1.21 gigawatts!
What about it?
Well, that's just a famous quote that people say all the time.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. 1.22 gigawatts.
People say that all the time?
All the time, Rach.
Who says it?
You haven't heard it?
I've never heard anybody say
I think it was
that
on
in my life.
Obama's, when he was on the campaign trail. He's
Yeah,
like,
his address.
we're going to do a lot of great things for this country. 1.22 gigawatts.
I've literally never heard anybody say that.
Can't believe you've never heard that before.
I thought the thing, "what's a gigawatt," was funny, but that's also not something I've ever heard anybody else say.
Yeah.
So,
Well, there you have it.
What other quotes do people say from this movie?
I don't know. I feel like you see Michael J like do like tiny little clips a lot, like in when they do like montage of film stuff, you know, you'll just see Michael J being Michael J.
1.22 gigawatts. That's not him though. That's the other guy.
Let's talk about moments.
Okay.
What'd you think of the fire effects?
I thought they were great.
Yeah, that track of fire that like
Yeah.
goes where
After
the
the
car
car?
tires were.
Yeah. You say effects, but yeah, I guess it was an effect. It
Those are
was
practical.
Real, it was real fire.
Yeah.
So I appreciated that.
Uh-huh.
I love it when it's not a CGI fire.
They
There were some,
Yep.
but
They make fun of all their CGI stuff.
I know.
They actually
should
hated the
not have done
CGI
that.
lightning and the hand part. Do you want to talk about the hand?
Yeah, he starts to disappear a little bit while he's playing the guitar, and you can just tell when he's putting his hand up. You're like, oh no, it's CGI. Oh
Yeah.
no, it's 80s CGI.
Yeah.
Oh, it's gonna ruin it.
It's almost like they filmed it and then they used the original screen capture as like a green screen and then they layered this weird hand over top of it and it looks awful.
Yeah, who knew? Who knew what movie magic they used?
Yeah,
They had
well,
everyone at their dispense though.
They hired a company for it, and this company was supposed to be pretty good. But I
I'm
think
sure.
they didn't have a lot of time, and then also like it was just
well, it was also
a little out of
1985,
their
so what looked really cool
realm.
then, like your hand disappearing, like you hadn't probably seen that before. So
Mm-hmm.
part of like a lot of cool effects because they were the first time you saw it.
Rach, what'd you think of his all denim outfit at the very beginning of the movie?
Well, he does break it up with the puffer vest, which is really great.
Well, eventually, but not at the beginning.
Oh,
At the
yeah.
beginning, he's wearing jeans, and he has a different shirt on, but then he has a denim jacket on
Yeah.
too. He's wearing the Canadian tuxedo.
A Canadian tuxedo. I like a man in a Canadian tuxedo. I do, especially if it's an acid wash.
Yeah.
Canadian tuxedo.
Yeah, because they were different color denim.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that helps a little bit.
Yeah.
It breaks it up a bit.
I actually don't hate the all denim thing.
Oh, I bet you don't.
I think
bet
it's
you
pretty
live
cool.
for the all denim.
Well, you know me, I love my jean jacket. And then sometimes I'm like, oh, I have to wear khakis with my jean jacket. Can I just wear jeans?
Couldn't I just this
Canadian
once?
tuxedo, anybody?
I think you should do it. You can pull it off. Just
Oh,
don't
thanks,
just
sweetie.
don't apologize. Just do it.
Yeah.
Ask for $1 million, and then stick to your guns. You're worth $1 million.
Oh my
babe.
gosh! If I asked for $1 million for Back to the Future 2 and they said no, I'd be like, all right, just name your price. I just want to be in
I
it.
was just gonna. I just wanted to see.
It's just a question.
Never mind.
What's the most you would maybe give me? What'd you think of Michael J. when he's talking to his mom for the first time in her bedroom, and he goes, "You're so ha, you're so ha."
My name is Lorraine. Lorraine Baines?
But you're so thin.
Oh yeah, that is a line.
Yep.
Oh, that's so weird. I wish he wouldn't have said that.
Well, his mom was hot.
Yeah, but you don't say it.
Don't you
can
ever
just
think?
be bewildered?
Okay. Don't you think if you saw your parents back in like high school or college age, don't you think there's a chance you'd be like, wow, Mom, you're a babe?
I know what my parents look like. I think they were both beautiful.
But like, think if you met them like in person, like you're in high school, like you're in the setting,
Yeah.
you'd be like, oh my gosh, Mom, Dad, you guys were babes.
I suppose.
Yeah, I think that's real life.
Yeah. Do you think that you'd be friends with your mom and dad back in high school?
My dad, I think so. Yeah, he's a little bit of a party boy, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I think he was probably a fun, cool guy to be around.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think so.
Mhm.
My mom was like one of I think my mom was kind of like a bad girl.
What?
Yeah, I
No,
think
she wasn't.
I think my mom got into some trouble. My
Yeah?
grandpa's alluded to my mom was a little bit of a troublemaker. Which is funny because I think she's got her stuff together pretty damn well.
Yeah.
But I think she was a troublemaker. I think she's a bad girl. But she was a popular bad girl.
Yeah. To
Yeah.
some of these stories out.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I think they were both kind of wild childs.
Mm-hmm.
Both mom and dad. What about your parents? You think you'd be friends with them?
Maybe. Yeah. I think they're both in small towns, and in a small town, everybody knows everybody, and
But that doesn't mean everybody likes everybody, Rach.
no, that's true. That's true. But both of my parents did a lot of like sports and activities and stuff, and were both considered by their peers to be popular. So, yeah, I think that they were nice guys and gals.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we would have ran in the same circles.
Okay.
Maybe not besties.
But not best friends.
Probably not best friends.
Yeah.
But we'd be in the same circle.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Tell us about baby Joey.
Baby Joey?
Yep.
Who's Oh. So there's this uncle character at the beginning who is in jail. And the mom brings out a cake at the beginning, and it's like you got out of jail cake. And she's like, oh, Joey's back in jail. Gonna have to eat this cake without him.
Yep.
And like, oh, Uncle Joey's in jail. And then Michael J. Fox meets Uncle Joey when he's a baby, and he's in this crib, and he makes like some lines out like, oh, get used to these bars.
Yep. And then the mom is like, yeah, we tried to take him out of there, but he just loves being in that little square space or whatever.
Yeah, he cries every time we take him out of there.
So funny.
And over there in the playpen is little baby Joey.
So you're my Uncle Joey. Better get used to these bars, kid.
Yes, Joey just loves being in his playpen. He cries whenever we take him out, so we just leave him in there all the time.
Oh my gosh,
So
so
random.
funny. And speaking of rapey boys though.
Oh, okay.
Can we talk about rapey boys for a second?
Okay, what a tangent.
It wasn't just Biff.
Yeah.
Do you remember at the dance? There's this weird guy who cuts
yeah.
in. Explain to the listeners what they could see.
Finally, Michael J. Fox's parents are dancing, and he's getting ready to do a guitar solo, and you're like, all is right with the world. And then this guy comes out of nowhere who is heinously ugly.
Yep.
He's got this bright red hair. He looks like what you think he looks like as far as pimples everywhere,
Yeah.
big teeth, just
I always
a scary
say
looking guy.
there's a character archetype that he fills that if you're a Stranger Things fan, the Steve's best friend in the season 1 who's like a little asshole who's always laughing and like is just a dick who then becomes Billy's like number 2. That's the character.
Okay.
That it feels like that character made an appearance in this movie. I'm like, oh god, I hate that character so much. So punchable.
Yeah. So punchable.
Infinitely punchable. I want to punch that guy more than Biff sometimes.
Maybe. Yeah, so he cuts in and starts like forcing her to dance with him, and it's also very weird because she's like, she has no strength. She's like, help, I can't. I don't want to dance.
I'm a helpless woman in the 50s.
Yeah, and so eventually he gets shoved away. But yeah, also like, what is that?
So that guy has been in other things.
Has he?
Yep. Have you ever seen Children of the Corn?
No.
Have I ever showed you the scene of, we have your woman, Outlander?
No.
Outlander! We have your woman! She still lives!
His name is Mordecai.
Oh, that's who he is?
That's Mordecai.
Okay, I
in the
know
Children of
of
the Corn
the
movies.
character.
You're going to love him when we watch Children of the Corn.
I don't think so. Unless
Yeah.
you want to make that our movie for this
No,
Halloween.
I don't want to waste the one Halloween movie on Children of the Corn.
Well, I don't know. It sounds scary.
No,
so.
we're going to watch something scarier.
Scarier than Children of the Corn?
Yeah. Oh, I've got 2 pegged that I want to think about.
I don't think so. I think I know what you want, and I don't think I can make it
What do you think I
happen.
want? Give a preview for the listeners. What do you think I want?
I think one of them would be Nightmare on Elm Street.
Ding, ding, ding.
And then the other one would be... Chucky?
No. Chucky?
Chucky?
Nope.
One of the Friday
That's
the
not
13th?
That's not the name of that movie, by the way. It's Child's Play. But no, the other one is a movie that you really want to see.
What is it?
The Shining.
Oh, let's do The Shining.
Well, we're gonna do Nightmare on Elm Street, but then
No!
we'll do 2. We'll do The Shining and Nightmare on Elm Street.
I'm not doing 2.
Yeah, you're gonna
No,
do 2.
I'm not doing 2.
You're doing them. Do them for the listeners.
No, I
You just made a
can't.
promise to them, Rach. And now if you only do 1, you'll betray all of them. They'll be like, we were looking forward to both of those.
How dare you? How dare you?
And then I have 2 other things. Wouldn't you want your mom or dad to think you're hot if you went back in time?
No.
You wouldn't?
I wouldn't want that.
You wouldn't want them to think like, oh, you're super attractive and be like, well, yeah, hopefully you think I'm attractive. I'm your kid.
I want them to think I'm cool.
Okay.
I don't know. Not like super attractive. I don't want them to think I'm ugly.
Yeah.
I guess I don't want my parents thinking I'm ugly.
So you kind of want them to think you're hot.
It doesn't have to be all the way hot.
Pretend like your mom and dad were dating while you're in the friends group.
Okay.
And then your dad, you overheard him talking to one of his friends, and he's like, oh, that Rachel's really hot. I'm in love with so-and-so, but, like, Rachel's hot.
No, do you want that? That's so
I
weird.
think I want them to think I'm hot.
That's so weird.
I think I want my dad to be like, God, he's a good-looking chap.
You want your mom to think
And
you're
I think
hot?
my mom would be like, he's hot. Be like, I am hot. We all have a little Oedipal disorder in us, I think.
Oh boy, do we?
I think so. I think you want them to think you're hot.
I don't want them to think I'm ugly. I don't need them to think I'm hot. If they think I'm like just a good-looking person, just in general.
Tell me
ugly.
Tell me what you
Like a 7.
So you just said you don't want them to say you're hot.
Yeah.
What if they said, "Oh, she's very attractive"?
I don't know. It's
Okay.
weird. It doesn't. It fills me with zero joy.
So that's okay. No, that's fair. That's fair. We're gonna find the line. What if they said like, "Oh, she's cute"?
Okay, I'll take that.
What if they said, "She's beautiful"?
I'll take that.
Ooh, even beautiful's strong.
But it's
Beautiful
not,
might be an 8 or a 9 out of 10.
You're right. I really want to stay to a 7.
Like she's pretty.
I'll take it.
That's 7.
Okay, 7.
She's
Pretty.
gorgeous.
No.
She is bonalicious.
Nope. You're way over all the lines.
Oh my gosh, she's totally porkable.
I can't believe we're having this combo. I hate everything about this.
Okay, and then I wanted to go over the basic plan that Michael J. Fox concocts with Crispin Glover is this.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm going to start doing stuff with my mom, and I want you to break it up, Dad, and then punch me in the face because I was doing stuff with Mom.
Yeah.
Like, that's the plan.
Because I came on so strong and girls don't like that. But then she's like, yeah, okay, let's park.
Yep.
I thought the first time I parked, and he's like, wait, what?
You mind if we park for a while?
That's a great idea. I'd love to park. Huh? Marty, I'm almost 18 years old. It's not like I've never parked before.
Which is funny because he thinks his mom is like a saint.
Yeah.
And she drinks and smokes and she's parked
She's
before.
prude, but
She's
she's done
touched his
all the
leg at the
things.
dinner table. He's grabbed his crotch.
No, that's not the same.
What'd you say? His upper thigh.
It was not the
He
same.
could stay in my room. Like, she was going to pork him.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I do.
I think the 50s version of that.
Well, what's that mean?
I don't know.
Whisper it in my ear.
Kissing.
Oh, just kissing?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, right. I bet some heavy petting would be happening. Rach, what do you have? Anything that you would like to touch on?
Honestly, I think we've kind of woven most of my thoughts and feelings into it. So I just have my review left.
Lovely. I would love to hear it.
Would you?
Yes.
I will give
More
it
than
to you.
anything in the world.
Okay, here we go. A movie about getting your dorky dad laid. Lloyd is perfectly nutty, and Michael J. still remains in the infinite space between Rach's top 10 to top 20 hottest hotties. As Huey Lewis says, that's the power of love. 70%.
Oh my gosh, we're very close on
Yeah,
this.
I really liked it.
Yeah, I like it too. I don't love it.
Okay.
I like it, don't love it. And that
Got it.
might hurt some people.
That's
but
all right.
I give this a 68%.
Yeah, we're super close.
This is tied with When Harry Met Sally. It's above Say Anything, and it's below Safe Haven. And this is where I'm going to lose my cinematic
Wait.
card.
Safe Haven?
Yes.
Below Safe Haven?
Below Safe Haven.
Okay.
Safe Haven is way better. Not way better. It's 2% better. It's really good, though. It's
on.
above Safe Haven and Teen Wolf.
Yeah.
I like Teen Wolf more than this
More
movie.
than this one.
Yep.
Okay. Well, you're right.
Cinematic card revoked.
Revoked.
Because it's about basketball. It's the story of Kobe Bryant.
Not this again.
Yes,
Not
absolutely.
this argument again.
Absolutely. Teen Wolf is a superior movie.
No.
Rach,
You don't even believe it when you say it. I
he
can hear it
does
in your
a
voice.
handstand on top of a truck and a backflip as a wolf. I don't know what you want. He goes into a closet. He rips his girlfriend's shirt and your best friend / girl's shirt, gives her a bloody back. There's so many things to talk about in that movie. That's interesting. But Back to the Future is a great time. You won't regret.
It was
paying a
very
visit to
good.
it.
Thank you for this. Thank you for this one. This was very
Well,
fun.
Yeah, I mean, like, I gave you all good movies this year.
It gave me a lot to think about.
Yeah.
For sure.
I mean, we started with Braveheart and Count of Monte Cristo for me.
Yeah, excellent choices.
And then we went to Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah, I tried to block it
You
out,
said
but you
was the
brought
wo-
that up again.
So that was the worst movie of all time.
Ah, heinous.
And then Short Circuit,
Yeah,
which
also
was
pretty
you,
heinous
Yeah,
too.
you did not like that one either.
I loved the robot.
You loved
The robot was the best part of that movie.
Yeah. And then we went to Back to the Future.
What a fun season.
Yeah.
you've
And what was
given
your
us.
journey?
Yeah,
Recap
well,
out
we
your journey.
started with the cult classic Waiting for Guffman,
Super
one
fun.
of my personal faves.
We've been quoting it for like 8 weeks now.
It's always good when it gets refreshed.
Mm-hmm.
Then traveled to my best friend's wedding.
Excellent.
Great, just in time for wedding
Excellent,
season
excellent
and
choice.
summer. Then I took a little bit of a dip, and
Yeah.
I'll acknowledge this.
Major dip.
It was a dip.
Yeah.
It Takes Two.
Yep. Which I've since dropped my score like 20%. Like it's one of the, I think I was blinded at that time. I was trying to find joy, but it was a horrible movie. The more I think about it, the worse it gets. Yep.
Yeah, just let that stay with you. And then I rather enjoyed the revisit to Yaya Sisterhood, The Divine Secrets of
Need
Yaya
more
Sisterhood.
witchcraft.
More witches
Yep,
would have
needed
been.
more witches.
It was your takeaway from
Yep.
that journey. But a good rewatch, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and then my final one was. What did I just do? Wait, was that it?
No, you had
Oh,
one
it was
more.
the Birdcage.
We watched the Birdcage.
and that was delightful.
Super fun.
The
Super
Birdcage
fun.
is so great, and yeah, loved rewatching some Robin Williams classics.
Yeah, so for both of us, started super strong with our favorites. Had a major dip point for about 4 films in a row. What I think if you're like combining our scores, very low for
Yeah.
4 in a row, and then ended pretty strong again.
It's like we kind of like picked the same like format while
Yeah.
we were making our
Which
respective seasons.
I don't think we planned planned it that way.
No. I think we just each thought, I'm going to start with the positive. I'm going to put the stinkers in the middle.
I'm going to do a
and
stinky
end with
movie.
something
I'm going to take a
like.
chance on number 4, and then I'm going to end on a good note.
Yep. That's exactly what we were thinking.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, season 6 is in the books.
Yeah.
We love that you guys tune in and share this time with us. We love having a chance to talk about movies. It's fantastic. We love you guys. And if you could just do us that small favor of Spotify in rating and reviewing, and maybe on Apple Podcasts as well. But I think we'll be coming to you from a new studio closet.
Yeah.
At the new house.
We're moving. We're moving next week.
Yeah.
So,
We'll be in Illinois, new digs, and I have a feeling we'll be back in action for Halloween episodes.
here's hoping.
How many do you think we'll get in?
Just one.
Nope. I think we'll at least watch 2. Are you not going to do one?
No, we just do one.
All right, then we'll do 2. Well, I'll just do those 2. Very good. All right, we'll see you guys soon.
What's going on in that house?
Every time they go into that studio closet, they come out and they look a little sweaty.
They smell a little bit.
Yep.
Oh.
This is it.
I know.
End of the season. It is always so bittersweet.
Are we starting?
No.
Oh.
Just doing a sound check right now.
Okay.